kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets,
Jets. What's happening, everybody? I am so excited for tonight's show. I can't believe that it's finally here. Us, you, the Jets. What could be better? I'm in a great mood. This is GreenBean, and welcome to this week's installment of the Thursday Thick of It. We have so much to dissect in tonight's show, and I can't wait to get into it, but I won't be doing that alone. As you know, I'm going to bring on the hero of the Monday Night Mock this week. Let's say hello to Frankie from Flatbush. What's happening, Frankie?
It's Thursday night. Where else would you want to be than with GreenBean and Frankie on the Thursday Night Thick of It in the offseason of the New York Jets, where we cannot lose a game. It's impossible. We cannot lose. No one can get hurt. Nothing bad can happen. And so it's our time to shine, GreenBean.
I tell you, I think that, if you look at it through the proper lens, Frankie, we have one of the best injury rates in the offseason in the entire NFL. We're among the best.
Hardly anybody getting hurt in the offseason. That when they're out in vacation and lying by the pool, very few Achilles injuries occur. It's fantastic.
It's amazing. The only injury we have right now is Lawrence Cager, who sadly was walking to the beach and twisted his ankle and is out for 2 weeks of the offseason, the poor fella. We wish him a speedy recovery. But Frankie, how you doing tonight, man? What's going on? How has the week been treating you since the Monday Night Mock, where we had an epic mock, in my opinion? How you been?
I've been good. I've been looking at I did a whole video about I thought it was going to be about the ESPN power rankings. We have these power rankings are out. Believe it or not, ESPN put out power rankings for next year before they know even where anybody's going. They don't know what's happening. What's happening with Aaron Rodgers? What's happening with Russell Wilson? Is Tom Brady going to come back? What's going on with Carson Wentz? All of these things, and nobody has signed anyone. Frankie Luvu got a contract. Okay, great, great for Frankie Luvu. But no free agents have signed. We didn't do the draft, but we're going to have power rankings. So I thought I was going to have a big video about the power rank. We're number 28, by the way, on the power rankings, which I thought was a positive for ESPN.
It is.
Yeah,
wow.
We're not last. We're not last.
Yeah.
We're not even next to last. And it wound up being all about ESPN and Dick Gemini and all these things. So it was nice. I got a lot off my chest.
Well, good. And that's important. One of the things somebody wrote in here, it's time for one of the guys in the chat, and we'll say hello to you guys in just a second. Somebody wrote, it's time for our therapy session. And in truth, I actually, every time I get to do this, I feel significantly lighter at the end of these streams. It really does work. We get things off our chest. We get to say some stuff. We get to hear maybe some positive advice on some negatives we were thinking. And at the end, I really do feel better. It works, man. Being able to dump this stuff and really in a long form, manner, be able to process and expose your feelings and explore the deep, dark crevasses of your inner psyche where the Jets are concerned. So what is this madness about Frankie Luvu? Did he get re-signed with the Carolina Panthers? Are they interested in retaining? What do you get? A couple years?
You got a 2-year deal. Good for Frankie Luvu. Nice little special teams player, occasional linebacker. Yeah, they re-upped him. So they retained him. And you figured they would. He's great for team morale. He's a high effort, high motor guy. So why not keep him around?
You know what? Why not? I always liked Frankie Luvu. The truth is that he never really panned out to where Jets fans, we created high hopes for Frankie Luvu, kind of unsupported really. But we saw him, he was like one of those preseason guys. He does really well in the preseason, looks really good. And you go, holy cow, this guy might be able. And then he goes into the season and he does very, very little except for special teams. But as far as the defense is concerned, and he's one of those guys that I really did like. And when he went over to Carolina, I had no real qualms with losing him. It was like, that's unfortunate, but it's nice to see a player like him, carve out a role. Not everybody has to be a 3-down, player and a star, and you can carve out a nice, important role, as a depth piece, as a special teamer, or whatever it is. Those are equally important, and we forget about that a lot of time. And it's good to have that tier of guys that are around a while. We tend to rotate recently. We rotate a lot of guys, Frankie, and it's good to have that special teams class of player that's around for a long period of time, and you know what you're getting. So who's our Frankie Luvu now? Do we have a guy that's we signed Hardy, but I wouldn't call him a long timer. He's our Luvu, you think?
He's going to develop into. I mean, he's in terms of effort. I was going to say about Luvu, he's the kind of guy you want on your special teams. He's not going to let anybody, get lazy. He's not going to let anybody, take a play off. No, he's a hard charger. His every down is 110%. That's exactly the kind of guy you want on your special teams at the very least. And because it's better for the whole special team, everybody's gonna look at him and go, "Holy cow, that guy!" Every play in practice, he's going 110. What's going on with this guy? And so that raises up their game. They're not going to go, "Okay, I guess I could be lax and lazy." No, look at this guy. So in terms of the play style, that's our Justin Hardy. We got that in Hardy. He's the one for us, on the special teams. And I love Justin Hardy. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he had a couple penalties last year, but I think for the most part, it started to look like it started to look like, oh no, what's going on with this guy? I don't know if you remember, like it's a lot of the times when the Jets sign a guy who does really well for another team for a number of years, we sign him and it doesn't exactly work out for us. Like something just happens. Do you remember what the hell was his name? The Carter from the San Francisco 49ers years ago, a punt returner. He was like the best punt returner in the NFL. We signed him in free agency. He came over here. He dropped like 4 punts, and we cut him like 4 weeks into the season. He went back to the Niners, resumed his stellar career. But what the hell happened? And that happens all the time with us. A guy who's never injured, he comes over here and I don't know, Frankie, but it's good. I like Justin Hardy, and you're right. It lets the young guys know that just because you're on special teams doesn't mean that it's not important. Like, oh yeah, I guess special teams are important. Look at this guy; he's an animal. And then with guys like Boyer and Leon Johnson behind them pushing, it can make all the difference, as we know. I mean, field position is no joke, and we have had pretty good special teams throughout this madness of a decade. It's been one of the bright spots for much of it, but not enough. So let's say hello to some guys in the chat. It started early again, Frankie. They were in here. I came in here about 25 minutes, before the stream, and they were already in full swing. They were having a full-on conversation about stuff. And Brandon McCauley was in here first. Ant Jets. J. Cole is back talking about rice pudding. Unsolicited comment. Rice pudding. That's it. He's going to see where that goes. He threw it out there. He said, let's see where this one goes tonight. Rice pudding. Nick Rousseau is here. Gangrene Goliath. My buddy Matthias Simon. Bipolar Medusa. Joe Grana. Jacob Finnegan. Harry's back. Helmuth is back. So many of you guys. And we love seeing you, man. New York Jets Tales. Tom Bon Jovi. Jim Pock. What's up? What's up? What's up? So you guys are the best. I love the early crew. I love the regular crew. I love the guys who come later. And it's just so cool to have you guys, all you guys here. Mike Galizia is here. Thomas Cahill. J. Cole's still talking. Now he's talking about peppers or something. Yeah, he's a hungry fella, that J. Cole. Joseph Schwart. It's an interesting. Trainer Tone is here. That's good. Jin Pak. Gitmo Bob is back. One of the 3 winners of the Green Bean 5,000 sub contest. He got himself a Wetwood Green Bean Do shirt, which looks something just like this, Frankie. That's the one he got. And I like that. I like that he wanted that one. And B2B got himself a Gripe Intelligently shirt. And it's so cool to be able to give it. Mindy Adam, the one female that won the contest, Frankie, I haven't heard back from her. Isn't that interesting? I think I told you. I have 0.3% female audience. 0.3. 99.7% male. And a woman won the contest, and now I can't find her. I want to make sure she gets her prize,
It's the story of my life, Green Bean.
Yeah, I know. Many can relate, man. Bill Leibold's here. Stud City and Isaac are back. Curly, Norman, Ron, Mo Lake, Louiso, my buddy. Jets Forever is here. FOC is back. Stephen T wants to kiss you. That sounds familiar. Bryant Sill, Lord Supreme, Kevin Jackson, Ali Lewis, and so many more. Liberal Irishman, Mikey Mals. You guys are the absolute best. I see Raw Power and Nick W. and Joe Grana and Watu K and Jeremy are in the back. And as you guys know, Frankie and I are going to hold the fort for the 8 o'clock hour. And then right at 9 o'clock, we have a very special guest. You know and love him. We're going to be hanging out with Jake Asman from down there in Houston, Frankie. I drove through Houston. And I'm going to be real honest, I wasn't loving it. There was a lot of traffic, and it really derailed my trip. It added about 2 hours to my trip, and I was unhappy. I was unhappy going through the country's fourth largest city, Frankie. Imagine that. Traffic in the fourth largest city. I don't know what to think.
And very swampy. It's very swampy in Houston because they're below sea level. They have all kinds of they have all kinds of problems when it rains in Houston. Just
That's
when it rains.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. So Kyle Ornsby checks in. What's up, Kyle? He says, I'm sober for just about 3 years. You guys are a big part. That's amazing, Kyle. As you know, I have not had myself a drink in over 11 years. I still smoke crack though. That's different. It's a different thing.
But no drinking.
No drinking. That was the problem. No, I don't smoke crack, Frankie. I don't anymore. I used to do all sorts of crazy things, sleep in hallways and fun stuff. So hearing that Kyle is sober is great news. And to be even just the tiniest part of that, Kyle, warms my heart. And that's what it all is. Kyle knows if he's been sober for 3 years, he knows how incredibly important fellowship is. And that's what we're trying to build here. Just because we're not all talking about drugs or alcohol, this is an addiction, man. This is a problem. This is a mental illness, really. Being Jets fans, dude, dealing with what we've been dealing with for decades and still coming back and going, you know what? This is going to be, I see it. It's going to change.
This time.
This one's going to change. David Clowney, that's our guy. Frankie Luvu, he's going to change it. Hamilcar Rashid, oh my God, he's a steal. He's going to light up the league, Frankie.
Tanzel Smart, he's going to take off. I know it. Bradley and I with his alligator arms, he's going to do something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, it's just, here we are. It is, honestly, it is, with all jokes aside, it's mental illness. So if we can help each other, if we can keep our heads above the sea level that Houston is below, we're doing okay. And that's our purpose here. So Watu K checks in and reminds us that the guy's name was Dexter Carter. That's who it was, Frankie. I did have the Carter thing. And Jeremy shares, he says, it's interesting. He started drinking a lot more since meeting GreenBean. Well, that's his own friggin' problem, isn't it, Frankie? That sounds like a personal issue.
It seems coincidental. I'm not sure if it's causal. What's the cause and effect there? You meet GreenBean and then you have to start drinking? I don't get the cause there. It's just coincidental.
Coincidental. I agree. I think Jeremy's looking for a scapegoat. And that's not me, buddy. He's looking for somebody to hang his problems on, like so many coat racks around this country of ours. So Liberal Irishman, what's up, Irishman? He says, being a Jets fan is like being in an abusive relationship. They emotionally destroy us, but we keep coming back. They just change the faces. They just say, we got this guy now.
Testing our resiliency. Maybe they're just testing how resilient we are. It's only been 50 years. There's some teams that go 80, 100 years without winning. What about that? For us, it's only been 50. Come on. What are we, a bunch of wussies?
I like this Frankie from Flatbush. I like this guy, everybody. I'm liking this Frankie from Flatbush. Every week, I like him another tick or two more. He just said, we got this backwards. This is a test of our resiliency. We're being forged in the fire. That's what's going on. Yeah. We will be removed from the fire straight and true. we will be able to slice our enemies. I like it. I like it. You know what? I'll remind everybody what Frankie said last week, and this is the gem of gems, and I want Matt O'Leary to hear this as well. What's up, Matt? It's so great to see you here, buddy. And he says, real quick, he says, there's no correlation, Jeremy. It sounds like a you problem. And I agree. I think that's what Frankie and I are saying too. But Matt, Frankie said last week, or actually it was Monday night, he said, it's not only about who you have on your team. It's who else you have on your team. And I thought that was brilliant. It's not about who you have. It's about who else you have. And if anybody knows that, it's New York Jets. We had Carl Lawson. He goes down. Well, who else? Oh, well, we're in trouble.
Yeah. We're
in trouble now. You know, a wide receiver. Well, who else? Yeah. Oh, no, we don't have. Oh, no. Yeah. So we got to get everybody else. It's not who we have. We got to get who else. We got to get the other guys. So, guys, I want to remind you that tonight's show, we have a lot to discuss. We're going to dive right in with some of the rumors and stuff. I want to get everybody's opinion on it and see what Frankie thinks, and we're going to deconstruct some of this stuff. But when Jake is on, I really want you guys to have the opportunity to throw your questions at us and see if you can maximize the opportunity of having Jake's ear while we're here together. And we'll try to get as many of your questions into Jake as we can and see if we can't squeeze his insider lemon. Let's try to get some intel, man. Let's see what he thinks and what we got going here. Before I do, I want to recognize Fly Guy's super chat. Now, Fly Guy, there's no question. I will say thank you for the super chat, but there's nothing there. If you want to add a question, go ahead and do that. Jeremy will let me know if you, in fact, get a question in, and we'll try to get to it, buddy. Okay. But thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. So, Frankie, I just made a video on this, and I want to just dive right into it. The guy Daniel Jeremiah from NFL.com came out and he said something pretty interesting. And he said the New York Jets and New York Giants could be a part of a blockbuster trade this offseason. And he said maybe even a very rare three-way trade where a team that doesn't have the assets to get maybe an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, they trade one of their vets to us to get some of our assets, and then they package those assets and go get Aaron Rodgers. Now, one of the teams that kind of popped up was maybe the Denver Broncos with Jerry Jeudy. As we know, Aaron Rodgers now has a connection with the Denver Broncos. Maybe he wants to go there and all that jazz. So, number one, do you think there's any validity to the rumor? Do you think the Jets are kind of geared up for what was labeled a blockbuster trade? And if so, what do you think it could be? Give me your ideas. I'm really curious. I've been waiting all day. I'm dying to hear what you think about this.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is we're in one of the best positions in all of the NFL, and I don't know if people realize this, to do anything the hell we want to. You know, we have the second most highest number of players signed already, 62. And with that, we have the fifth most amount of cap space. And with that, we have the equivalent of 2 draft classes coming in this year. And with that, we have our quarterback, our head coach, our general manager, our coaching staff all in place, and nothing going on with our ownership like what's going on in Denver. They're having an auction for the team. By the way, I don't think I'll be able to bid for that one. That's a little outside of the Frankie budget. So, you know, we could, with all of those factors, we could do whatever the hell we want. And we have Joe Douglas, as Scott is pointing out here. We have Joe Douglas in charge. We don't have Mike McCagnon in charge. We don't have Idzik in charge. We don't have these numbskulls in charge. So that means whatever happens, yeah. Could it happen? Sure. Could we be involved? Of course. We could be involved in every discussion because we have assets all over the place. Money, draft picks, players, contracts to move, contracts not to move. We have cheap players. We have expensive players. Whatever you want, we got it. We can be involved in any and all conversations. So, yeah, it could happen. Now, Jerry Jeudy, very good wide receiver. Love to acquire him, but depends on the price. I mean, I'm not giving up a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy. No, I would not give up a first round pick. And I think that, Joe Douglas, I think, has told us the truth that we're building through the draft for the most part. We have 2 draft classes coming in after an excellent draft last year. So, if something makes sense, sure, Joe Douglas will go do it. That's the beauty of the way Joe Douglas is setting up this team. We're able, if somebody wants to get super aggressive with us for some reason, then we pursue that. But if somebody doesn't, and it's a bad deal, we're not going to do that. We have no reason to do anything bad. But it's like with Sam Darnold. We could have held on to Sam Darnold, but the Panthers came to us and got super aggressive, and we said, "Whoa, what this deal? Yeah, we got to do that." And then we got rid of him. So that's the beauty of setting up your team properly and not overpaying people like Quincy Enunwa with injury guarantees and all the nonsense that we gave up. Not having those kind of contracts is because you set up your team to be able to do anything that you want, and you don't have to do bad things to make up for your other bad choices that you made. So we're in a great position.
Now that's, and like you started to say in the very beginning of your statement, of course we could. We're a team with just oodles and oodles of assets, whether you're talking about money, draft picks, willingness, all kinds of stuff. We got it all over here. And we're kind of an easy target to say that we could because, again, we have tons of potential on doing such a thing. But the word is could. It's really interesting. I'm trying to point people's attention to how these rumors are expressed to us. Like we heard recently, the scuttlebutt is like, what's the scuttlebutt? If you look up scuttlebutt in the dictionary, it says gossip. That's what it is. So gossip, that's what they're saying.
Fancy word for gossip. Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, in fairness, it's a much more fun way to say gossip. So I'll give anybody that. Scuttlebutt, that's just nice to say. It's fun. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about gossip, or we're talking about the word could. Now, you could take that tweet from Daniel Jeremiah and you could literally say, well, what about the Dolphins? Could they? Yeah, sure, they could. How about the Niners? Yeah, they could be involved in a trade. How about the Colts? Let me think. Yeah, they could. Like, that's the thing. There are 32 teams that could be involved in a trade this year. So that's really the way that we got to look at it. Like, when that tweet came out, I got, I don't know, 2 or 3 DMs, one of which was out of control. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, dude, it didn't say anything. If this happens, if we trade a first for Jerry Jeudy, I'm going to lose my mind. And it's just like, okay, well, let's look at what it really is. Now, Daniel Jeremiah, interestingly, is known to be a relatively close friend of Joe Douglas. As we know, they have a history together. But I want to remind you guys that there was another friendship that we pointed to not too long ago, and that was the Joe Douglas-Adam Gase friendship. And we saw that friendship doesn't necessarily mean that business isn't going to come in and rule the day. So I just have a hard time believing that Daniel Jeremiah would use that friendship and blow up Joe Douglas's spot. So maybe Joe Douglas said something and he's going to go put it on NFL.com. They wouldn't be friends very much longer. Joe Douglas, as we know, keeps things very close to the vest. And if somebody is going to leak his stuff, that's it. He's not getting another peep from Joe Douglas. Now, conversely, what I find interesting is when I think about if they are good friends and if he is saying something, what could be the motivation for it? As we've discussed numerous times, this is the season of smokescreens. It's not just rumor season. It is motivated rumor season. It is pointed rumor season. It is rumors with purpose. Who said what and why? What is really trying to happen? So in my opinion, and I'd love to see what you think here, Frankie, in my opinion, if Joe Douglas wanted Daniel Jeremiah to say something like that, it's because he wants the NFL to know, not only am I open for business up on top of the first round, but I have a lot of people already working on creative things to get my picks. So if you're thinking of jumping the Commanders for that quarterback or whoever it might be, you need to get on the phone and call me because we need to start talking now because it's already in the works. What do you think about that? You think that's possible? You think I'm off base there?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that would be the kind of thinking that a good general manager would have. Let me get out there the things I want out there that are to the advantage of me. Like
Right.
he's already put out into the ether. We're building through the draft. So maybe some teams might look at it and go, well, the Jets, they're building through the draft. Let's not get too heavily involved with talks with them. Well, but let them know, hey, we're going to build through the draft. But if you want to get aggressive, if you want to offer us a bunch of things, that make sense, hey, we're open. We're here. We got our ears wide open. We're listening. We're listening to everything.
That's right. And
yeah,
we
so
know that a lot of the teams we know that a lot of you are in cap hell, and we're willing to squeeze you for it. You call us, I'll gladly squeeze your lemons. Let's go. Give me a call. Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that's the way you want it to be. We're open, we're open to anything. We'll listen to any proposal you may have. But we're not going to do something stupid because we have no reason to do anything stupid. We're in a fantastic position. So if you want to do business with us, okay, but you're not going to rip us off. We've seen that with Joe Douglas. He's not going to get ripped off. At the very least, it's just going to be even, a good value for value, but he's not going to get ripped off. So we're not making those trades anymore. So
that's right.
I think it's all good. That's why you want to position your team this way.
Yeah, and Frankie, we're in a very interesting position, as you're starting to allude to here. It's something I like to call the driver's seat, which is not our experience. That's not real. That's the thing. Like when we talk about Joe Douglas's hot seat, or guys that point to the record, since he's been here, we've won 4.5 games, kind of a thing. And I do get it. I understand all that. But when you look at the shift in cultural attitude around here and what the positions we're in are, just like right now, we are in absolute control of our destiny, and anybody that wants to try to make something happen for Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, whatever it is, those are the teams that are going to be desperately trying to make these swings for the fences. That's not us. We're in a position that we have enough. We don't need anybody for anything. But if you want some of what we got, you're going to pay for it. And that's where it could be advantageous to where we currently are right now. And that's not usually our position, man. It's nice. It's different. It gives us at least a sense of pride that something can happen. And that has been, few and far between in the Idzik and McCagnon years. And for one, I like it. Now I want to get to Fly Guy. Fly Guy did respond, and I want to thank him again for the super chat. He says, GreenBean, I'm in agreement with your line of thinking in regards to starting defense in the draft. Okay. Great argument for offense last week. Draft is stacked with defense though. And it's a good point. And like, that's why I made both videos. I made one, the argument for using the first picks on defense. And then I made a secondary one, the argument for using the first picks on offense, because I want everybody to know that just because we might see it differently, just because we disagree, doesn't mean that both sides aren't valid. And that's where we kind of get off track sometimes. Like we'll get on Twitter and somebody will disagree, and we're not even that far apart, but it's like now we feel like we're at, direct odds and we need to trash their argument. The truth is that there is logic behind both. And the argument that I make that Fly Guy is agreeing with is that when you look at what the draft has to offer and you identify that 70% of the top 10 happen to be on defense, and you have 2 picks in that top 10, chances are, if you want to really take the best swing at getting an elite type player, more than likely you're going to want to use the strength of the draft. Again, if you're at the Chinese food place, don't order the cheeseburger. Go ahead and get yourself some Kung Pao. They're going to do that much better than the cheeseburger. So again, that's what we were talking about there. And I'm glad that you agree with me, man. I always love, Frankie, it's a thing I have. I love being agreed with. It's a thing. I don't know if it's just me. It's a favorable aspect of being on Twitter and everything else. So we got another super chat from Mike Galizia. And thank you, Mike. He says, I think the wide receiver we should sign is Allen, and he means Robinson. Unless there's an Allen Robertson. I don't think there is. I think you're talking about Allen Robinson. So, Frankie, what do you think about Allen Robinson? Yeah, as we know, he had a little bit of a down year. He had some quarterback issues. There was an injury. Lots of stuff. A year ago, we were talking about him. If they didn't franchise him, he was going to be $20 million. And justifiably so. He had a down year. Is he a guy now that you're thinking that we might want to bring in, or is he a guy that you want to stay away from?
So as with all things, it depends. But as a player, I'll say I like Allen Robinson a lot. I think he would bring a lot to the table. The question is how do you fit him into the grand scheme of things? So right now we have $48 million in cap space. However, we have 2 draft classes coming in here. That's going to cost us $20 million. So functionally right now, as of today, we have $28 million. So if you give 15 to Allen Robinson, which is probably the price somewhere in there, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, something like that is going to be Allen Robinson. Well, then if you sign him for 15, you only have 13 to fill other holes in free agency, and you don't want to go right up against the cap. You need some breathing room. So it's a matter of who else. Goes back to my quote. It's not who you have, it's who else you have. Because if you spend that much money on one guy, then you probably can't bring back Barrios. You probably can't sign a right guard, which we also need. You probably and you can only sign, so much. So we also should sign a safety. We also could sign a cornerback maybe, but those guys are very expensive also. So yes, Allen Robinson, very talented, would fit in well. I like him a lot as a player. It's just a matter of how do you fit his contract in with the rest of the people that you'd like to sign to fill the holes we have before the draft comes.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what takes a lot of the fun out of this, guys. It's like when we, as Jets fans, we want to dream, right? We want everybody. We want to go get James Daniels to fix our right guard. We want to re-sign Barrios. Hell with it. Pay him what he wants. Give him his $9 million. Then we want to re-sign Crowder. Give him $6 million. Then we want to go get Allen Robinson. And then, hey, we want to go get Dalton Schultz. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
We don't have enough money. It's like walking into that Chinese restaurant with $10 and saying, I'll take the poo-poo platter and the happy family and the this. And they're like, well, that'll be $314. And you're like, well, I have 20 or 10.
Yeah, I have $100. Yeah. We need linebacker. Yeah. People are saying in the chat, we need linebacker. We need so many things. That's why if you look at my videos, I look at the whole free agency space and I say, what can we afford? Logically, like I would love to have Marcus Williams, for example, love to have him, the safety.
Yeah, me too.
But he cost $15 million probably, whereas Jordan Whitehead cost $6 million. So if I'm looking at the whole picture, I'll probably go for a Jordan Whitehead, because he's not as good, but he's good enough for $6 million and the other guy's 15, and now I can buy other things. So
yeah. Well, it makes sense. But that said, Mike, truth is, out of the free agent wide receivers, I do like Godwin, even considering the injury and all that. Like, I really wanted Godwin last year before he was franchised as well. But honestly, the number one wide receiver for me in free agency, if, like Frankie said, the price can be managed, would be Allen Robinson. I think the down year is nothing to be concerned about. I don't think it's indicative of him, spiraling downward toward obscurity. I think it's just the situation. If you look at it up there, it wasn't exactly, set up for success. So, and they have since fired the coach and they had numerous quarterbacks and the whole thing. So I would like Allen Robinson as well. We have another super chat from our buddy Edward Ziff. What's up, Ed? He wants to say not taking Judy for a 10th. Well, I think he means our 10th round. Yeah, he's not giving our 10th overall pick. Take Burks instead. Then he's locked in for 5 years. Don't want someone's sloppy seconds. Now, I don't know how sloppy. I don't know how sloppy Judy is, though. But okay, so go on. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a good point because you also have to think, what else can you do if you're going to trade the 10th pick? This was my point with Calvin Ridley. It was the same thing. Why are we going to trade our 10th overall pick for Calvin Ridley and have Calvin Ridley for 1 year at $11 million when instead we could just take Treylon Burks or Drake London or whoever your number one wide receiver in the draft is and have him for a low cost for 5 years? Why would we trade? It makes no sense. Just take the wide receiver. So you always have to look at your options and what alternatives you have in any scenario. And so this is a good point by Edward.
Well, let me be devil's advocate for a second. What if Jerry Jeudy is just straight up a better wide receiver than Treylon Burks or Wilson or whoever?
So
what if it
right? So if you did an evaluation and you said Jerry Jeudy is a 9.5 and everybody, my number one receiver in the draft is a 7.5, then you'd go, okay, we got to get Jeudy. But if they're anywhere close, then you go, well, no, we'll just take the guy who's close and he may not be as good, but he's close. And we got him for 5 years at a low cost, much better. But yeah,
Right.
if somebody's
Well-
just that much better than what you could get otherwise, then yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really what it boils down to. I think Ed makes a great point, especially when you're talking about the 5 years versus the 3 years. As we know, Judy will be going into his 3rd year. But let's be real. If Judy was in this draft, he's the number 1 wide receiver in this draft. It's not even a question. So if Jerry Jeudy was in this class, Jerry Jeudy was considered the best wide receiver in the class, even though the Raiders did the Raiders thing and took Henry Ruggs and all that first. The truth is that Jerry Jeudy was the best wide receiver in a deep wide receiver class, a very strong wide receiver class. So he would definitely be the top receiver in this class. And let's not exclude, and maybe Wa2K can correct me here. I think his rookie year, he had something like 85, 86 catches for almost 1,000 yards. So, and a few touchdowns, and that's his rookie year. So last year he had a great first game, got injured, was out like 6 games or whatever, and then came back and still had 400 yards or whatever it is. So, it's not like the guy is all of a sudden garbage. And he's not even in the situation where Mims is. I mean, the guy is known as a crisp, surgical, precise route runner, great work ethic, all that stuff. And he had a fantastic rookie season. So let's not, I mean, the sloppy seconds thing, I don't really put Jeudy in a place where I think it's a negative to acquire him. I mean, you're getting a stud going into his prime. Now, if you think Burks or Wilson are on the same tier, just like Frankie was saying, then absolutely, it makes a ton of sense. But if Judy's straight up better than these guys, I think that you got to consider it. And hey, Ed, maybe you can get Denver to give you Jeudy and a third. Is Jeudy and a third better than Burks? You know what I'm saying? So that's how you look at it. We got a couple super chats coming in. I heard there's a funny one too. And I don't mean to skip everybody's awesome comments. I'm trying to keep up. J. Cole says Kung Pao. You mentioned food and J. Cole's all over it, man. That guy. Kung Pao. So David Gerard says, appreciate you, Green Bean. Well, I appreciate you, David, and I appreciate the super chat. It's so great to have you guys here, man. As, you guys, we've kind of gotten to know each other over this past year, and I just couldn't be more grateful. It's funny, like I realize sometimes I've never seen you guys. Like I don't know what the hell you look like. I don't know your real names. Like I'm calling a guy, Emanon. I don't know what his name is. I think that's his name. I don't know. It's somebody, Mikey Mouse. Is his name Mike? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't even know. You could go, no, my name's Fred. Like, but it's such a cool thing. I feel like I know you guys. And it's just, I don't know. It tickles me. I couldn't be happier to have the dynamic that we have. And I'm grateful that you guys are here every week with us, man. Lord Supreme checks in. Thank you, Lord Supreme, for the super chat. He says, JD makes great lemonade with squeeze picks. Yeah, man. Well, look. The 2020 draft class, as much as I loved it, and I think you did too, Frankie, if I remember correctly, when it happened, I really liked the majority of it. There were picks. James Morgan, I hated. I never liked it. I never really loved the Ashton Davis pick. It made sense once we got rid of Jamal, and I saw that maybe he was using some foresight, but I never thought I didn't really love it. But there were lots of picks that I did love. And you look at it and it doesn't look like the draft class is going to have all that much success. But 2021 looks different. So we kind of have polar opposite draft classes in Joe Douglas's first 2 years. But that said, what he's been able to acquire for us to have these draft classes has been nothing short of miraculous. I mean, he created an entirely separate draft class worth of additional draft capital, and the majority of it top end, firsts, seconds, thirds, and even some fourths and fifths and sixths and all that. So I think he's done an incredible job. I could not be more excited to see what he does. And I'm hoping Daniel Jeremiah is on to something, quite frankly. I'd love to see us pull a blockbuster trade and see how well Joe Douglas can come out of a situation with 2 teams that he gets to take advantage of in one swing. That would make me real happy. How do you feel about Joe Douglas and his squeezing the lemons here, Frankie?
Well, it's interesting. I have a video coming out tomorrow on the 2019, 20, and 21 drafts and doing a comparison between our drafts and the Bills and the Patriots and the Dolphins. And it's really interesting to see how things have played out over the last 3 years. And we had 3 different people drafting. We had the McCagnon draft, then we had the Gase Douglas draft, Then we had the Douglas draft, and the Joe Douglas one looks like the best. But even the 2020 draft, where people, tend to make fun of Joe Douglas for that draft, if Becton and Mims, fulfill their potential, which is a big if, understood, that draft becomes a home run, really, because you got Bryce Hall out of it. You got Ashton Davis. We don't like Ashton Davis, but he still was a starter for us. You got Braden Mann out of it. And then if you get Becton, who could be a Pro Bowler if he fulfills his potential and stay healthy, I understand it's a big if. And then Mimsy, for God's sakes, Mimsy should be good. There's no reason for Mimsy not to be good. He's got to come into camp this year and blow everyone away, and they'd let them go, wow, look at this guy. And then if that happens, it's a home run draft. So a draft everyone said is bad could turn into an actual home run. And it's not that far-fetched to think Becton and Mimsy could fulfill their potential. I mean, really.
It's not that far-fetched. I think, I don't know what the hell happened with Mims. I really don't. And the knocks that were attaching to him were not knocks all the way up until this year. So I don't know what it is. I still have hope. But like you said, dude, he's got everything. What the hell's going on? And Becton, too. I think the story's not written yet. And I have more faith in Becton in this, for the Jets than I do with Mims right now. But I'm really still hopeful that both of them can come out and be something. That would be very, very helpful, by the way. Very, very helpful if both of those guys can fulfill their potential. So Mike Galizia comes back, Frankie. He's the one that had the Allen Robinson. He says, what the hell's the matter with Frankie, man? What's this guy's problem?
Sorry, buddy. I love Allen Robinson. We should get him. Okay.
Yeah. What's this guy with his numbers? What is this?
What is
I don't like
this
it.
with his spreadsheets? What's going on?
Yeah. So Thomas Cahill checks in. He says, isn't next year's cap being increased? Can't we extend some money into next year? Well, there is the rollover, but it's not like, I don't don't know what you mean extend money into next year. You have to meet the cap this year. Like you can't say, well, I'm giving a guy 20 extra million, but we'll just you're going to add 30 next year. So don't penalize me. The truth is that the NFL will not approve signings if you're up against the cap. And now there are creative ways to get around it, as we've seen many, many teams do, but eventually you're going to pay the piper. Like when you look at with the edge rusher from Minnesota, his name is escaping me right now, that we were linked to
Danielle Hunter.
Neil Hunter. You know how much Neil Hunter's contract is this year? Does anybody know?
I know.
We're talking about trading for him. Do you know what it is, Frankie?
Yeah, his cap hit is $26 million.
$26
million. That's our whole allotment.
Yeah, so we're talking about we need to restructure Mosley, man. This is absurd. We're talking about there are people legitimately telling me that we need to run to trade for Hunter. Run. Now, I think there is. Now, in fairness, I think there is a portion of that would actually go toward the Vikings because of salary cap and all kinds of stuff that they pushed around. So they would be responsible for some of it. But still, when you're looking at $26 million, Thomas, that's because they pushed stuff and moved it around. Now, the specifics I'm not going to get into because I don't have them, nor do I want to pretend that I fully understand them. Numbers are not my thing, man. But when you're talking about $26 million, that's because they received benefit in earlier years to be able to do other things, and you're always going to pay the piper. This is our first year as Jets fans since Joe Douglas took over without dead money on our cap. This is it. This is the first time since he's been here that we're not still paying the piper for bad moves. So I think that we're going to try to steer clear from those types of bad moves. That said, we are going to see the salary cap go up next year. They're even talking about it being as much as 30 million. That would be incredible. I'm glad it's not happening this year because that would level the playing field where we sucked for a long time to earn this cap. I don't want other teams just to all of a sudden have 30 million. But yeah, there's always creative ways to get around it. But like I said, eventually you're going to have to pay the piper, Thomas, and we got to avoid that. Now I'm going to do one more super chat, and then we're going to get into Frankie's facts before Jake gets here. This stream is flying by for me, man. I can't believe it's almost 9:00 already. It's just, I don't know what's happening. So, Red Dog, you didn't stick a question in there, buddy, but thank you for the super chat. If you can try to send in a question. They'll let me know what it is, and we'll try to get to it in the similar way that we did for Fly Guy. But thank you, Red Dog. I sincerely appreciate it. And I couldn't be more grateful, my friend. So, Frankie, are you ready for your segment there, buddy? Because I'm queuing it up right now, man. I'm getting it ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into some numerical details. The stuff I never understand. Without Frankie, I wouldn't know what the hell's going on. And that's a segment that we love to call Frankie's Facts. There it is, Frankie.
That is the best. All right. So I've been thinking about all of these records that keep getting broken. You notice this year of GreenBean, there was a bunch of records that got broken. They said the rookie record for receiving yards and this and that. And they never say, hey, we got more games that we're playing these days. Joe Namath played in 14-game season. So when he throws for 4,000 yards is a little different than in a 17-game season. So, and then in top of that, they never say on a per snap basis, anything. It's like in baseball. If two players hit 50 home runs, one does it in 700 at-bats and one does it in 200 at-bats, those are not the same player. Like they both hit 50 home runs, but one is a lot better than the other. And you have to look at the at-bats. Well, in football, there's no at-bats. So what do? Well, I think we could do looking at a per snap basis on some of these statistics because the guys are on the field for snaps. So I started looking at sacks. So the top 20 sack guys. Do you remember who led the league in sacks this year, GreenBean?
I think it was TJ Watt.
Correct. 22 and a half sacks. 22 and a half sacks. Pretty good season. But maybe he was on the field for 10,000 snaps. Maybe he's not so good for sacks per snap. And then so I looked at the top 20 guys. So it's TJ Watt, Robert Quinn, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, Matt Judon. These are the leaders in sacks, total sacks. Cam Jordan, Aaron Donald, Harold Landry, Marcus Golden, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa, Chandler Jones, Shaq Barrett, Unique Ngakoue, Cam Hayward, Von Miller, Rashawn Gary, Leonard Floyd. Those are the top 20 guys in sacks. But who is the top of the list as far as sacks per snap is concerned? Any guesses?
The top
out of that list.
Well, admittedly, the list went in my ear. I know I don't even remember who they were. I'm listening, but
went pretty fast.
Yeah, it was fast, but that's okay.
So
sacks per snap. Oh, I don't know, Frankie. I'm gonna ask for the info.
Yeah, so I looked and I said, okay, and I didn't do just snaps. I did pass rush snaps because if the other team's running the ball, you can't get a sack. Right? That's not fair.
Right.
So how many sacks per? Well, guess who the leader was? It was TJ Watt. So this guy not only led the league in sacks, he led the league in sacks per pass rush snap at 18.36. That is phenomenal. This guy, they can't give this guy enough money. But guess who's number two? It was Von Miller.
Quinnen Williams. Oh,
we're going to look at the Jets in a second too.
Okay.
But Von Miller was at the bottom of the list. Von Miller, you remember, only had about 9.5 sacks. So you say, well, 9.5 sacks, that's an okay year. But if you look at his sacks per pass rush snap, it's second to Watt. So out of this top 20 list, the average of sacks per pass rush snaps per sack is 39.36. That's the average of these top sack artists. So Watt is so much better than everybody else, and so is Von Miller. And then third is Robert Quinn. Now, last on the list at 57.4 is Cam Hayward, Unique Ngakoue, Leonard Floyd, and even Aaron Donald, 52.64. So Donald was on the field for the most pass rush snaps of anybody, 658 pass rush snaps he was on the field.
Wow.
That's way more. That's almost double the amount of almost double the amount of pass rush snaps Quinnen Williams was on the field. So now, what about the Jets? Yeah, double. So what about Quinnen and JFM? How did they do? Because they sacked some people. Well, Quinnen Williams had 6 sacks in 361 snaps for a ratio of 60.17. So
where does that rate? Yeah,
that would be toward the bottom. That would be on the very bottom of this list. But then again, these are the top 20 guys in sack artistry. So it's not terrible for Quinnen, really, especially because we all know he didn't have the best year. He didn't have a terrible year. We would like him to be much better. So he did okay-ish. Well, what about JFM? How about him? He had 6 sacks, but he did it in 431 snaps for a ratio of 71.83. So not too good.
Not too good for JFM.
No. And what about Bryce Huff? No good. He only had 2 sacks in 209 snaps for a ratio of 104.5. No good.
Oof. Yeah, not good enough. Now, not good enough to delay grabbing an edge rusher. And people have said this to me. Hey, guys, we do have Bryce Huff. We can't forget about him. I'm like, well, that's nice.
Yeah, he's nice for DL. If he's DL 7 or 8, I like him. If he's DL 4 or 3, no.
Yeah.
And then what about a guy like Sheldon Rankins? Well, he had 3 snacks. I keep calling him snacks.
Yeah, I think you might be hungry. Are you hungry, Frankie?
I'm reading J. Cole's comment with all other food.
Like, I want soup.
Rankins had 3 sacks, but it took him 411 snaps to get those for a ratio of 137. So not good at all. And even Kyle Phillips had a sack, but he did it in 121 snaps. So that's not good either. So basically, without Carl Lawson and without Vinny Curry, who were supposed to be our sack people, and we lost them both for the year, without them, we were in trouble. So we do need help. Lawson's coming back. I think we need an edge in the draft as well. And then you put Huff, and then you put Quinnen in there, and JFM, and Huff goes to his natural position, and DL 6, 7, 8 position. Then you're okay. But this shows me we need help. We need help there. And Lawson would probably have been on this list, honestly, if he played. He's usually on these lists from previous years. So that was just a huge loss that we had.
Yeah, well, we like to think that he would, right? Like you said, like leading up to this year, it was looking like he would have been among, or at least involved in the conversation. And that's the thing. Like, so guys, this is one more piece. I think this is fantastic, Frankie. When we talk about the draft and its strength, like where the strength is in the draft, where our picks are, where the strength is, what's available, and what we need, they happen to really coincide. They snugly fit together perfectly for us to use that 4th pick, if in fact we don't trade it away or what have you, on the best possible edge rusher in this class. That's there for us, the best possible edge rusher on the board, without getting cute, without saying, well, I really like let's say Karlaftis. I like him, but I'm going to try to see if he'll be there at 10 so I can take this guy. And then you lose him and you got to take the 4th or 5th edge rusher. It's a position of need, even with Carl Lawson. Like Frankie says, it's not about who you have. It's about who else you have. And Carl Lawson's nice. We hope. We simply don't know. Let's in very real terms, we simply do not know what Carl Lawson is. So after the Achilles injury, we have high hopes, and that's great. I have high hopes for him as well. But when you look at these numbers, we are not in the conversation to comfortably delay getting an edge rusher. And when we're talking about taking Icky and Linderbaum, it's like we are finding an excuse yet again to avoid taking the edge rusher. And this is a very strong edge class up top. So get him. Get your guy, Frankie. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I like all of the options that we have. I mean, so if you're telling me, Frankie, we got a chance to get, if let's say Thibodeau and Hutchinson and Hamilton are there, who do you take? If all the options are on the table, I'll probably take the edge guy, the highest rated one. I don't know who they're going to rate higher, Hutchinson or KT, but I probably would, especially because you have to think in terms of delta. So there's a lot of guys, like people are saying Jermaine Johnson, and he's really good, but how much higher do you have rated KT and Hutchinson than Johnson? Now, if they're close, then you say, okay, I can wait because I got a bunch of guys that are close. But if it's not close and it's a big delta, then you can't wait. So a lot depends. But yeah, I think edge is one of the most important positions, and we can't assume anything with Carl Lawson. So I think we have to address it in the draft.
Yeah, I think that, look, it's fascinating to hear this kind of stuff because, guys, it's so important to this defense. It's so important to the game of football in general, especially with all the protections that they give to wide receivers out there, playing against cornerbacks. Like they've tied one hand behind our back in the defensive backfield. The best thing you can do is get to the damn quarterback, and it's a position of need. And I think that we really should get. Not that I don't value the line, the offensive line. I do. I value wide receiver, all that stuff, but this particular draft, it just so happens to be that might just be the strongest position up top. And we happen to have the 4th overall pick. I'd like to see us nab somebody that can be here a while and terrorize quarterbacks alongside Quinnen Williams and Carl Lawson and JFM. And let's get that piece done, man. Let's get our defense off the field and give Zach another shot to throw to his injured Vincent Smiths and Lawrence Cagers.
It's a good point. People have criticized some of my drafts saying, Frankie, you're too focused on defense. We got to help Zach Wilson. What are you doing? Well, you know what? The defense helps Zach Wilson when the defense is
Absolutely.
good. It really does. And people forget that. Now we can't neglect weapons and protection and all that. We got to do everything, but the
balance
defense does help. Yeah. Balance.
That's right. Yeah, see, that's it. So Mike Galizia checks back in. He says, for crying out loud, Frankie, it's February. It's our time to dream. Leave the numbers at home. Stuff them in your couch with so many nickels and dimes.
I mean, you can dream with can't you have quantified dreams, Mr. Galizia?
No, it seems not. So I want to try to get to these super chats before. Well, thank you, Frankie. I think that's fascinating. That was a good one. I love talking about the edge rush position in general, especially around draft time, because during the season we never have one, so it sucks to talk about. But now this is the time to talk about edge, everybody. Fly Guy checks back in. Thank you, Fly Guy. He says, do we double dip on defensive end, or is it defensive end and interior defensive line? What do you think, Frankie? If we do get 2 defensive guys, would we double dip on the edge, or would we grab an edge and an interior guy, in your opinion?
Oh, I would say, given this choice, I want an edge and an interior. Give me Hutchinson, say, and Perion Winfrey. I'm happy.
Yeah,
because I got Lawson coming back. I got Huff. I need more depth in the interior. We got Quinn and we got JFM. That's good. We got Kyle Phillips. We got Sheldon Rankins. So I'd like to get a Perion Winfrey type, or God forbid we get a Jordan Davis or a Devontae Wyatt. I love those guys. So I would go 1-1 rather than double dip.
Yeah, interesting. I might too. I think it would depend on who's there, how much you like one over the other. But again, balance is key, man. Balance. Don't overload and make one position so strong and then you have a weakness somewhere else, which is why I just struggle to want to grab a tackle that high. Overloading at one position and then leaving other positions that are completely vacant, So David Gerard checks in. Thank you, David. He says, does KT like what football can do for him? And I think the rest of that question, or does he like what he can do for football? Well, that's one of the knocks coming out. Now, how valid it is, we don't really know. I think you're going to find that the combine interviews are sometimes even more important than the combine drills themselves. These guys, our coaches, our scouts, they get to sit down for a little while with these guys and ask them anything they want and try to see what their personality really is. And sometimes the guys that walked in the room being highly thought of walk out of that room and they go, take them off the board. Yeah. It just because of personality. It happens all the time, man. Look at what Ja'Kai Polite did in the combine. He came in as a number 1 pick. He left as an afterthought, except for Mike McCagden, who thought, I'm going to get a steal. He was the only guy, him and Hackenberg. That was Mike McCagden's steals of the draft. I think Thibodeau is an excellent player. There are concerns, but again, I think it's going to boil down to what Joe Douglas and his crew find out in those interviews. It's not going to be what he says to some reporter in the state of Oregon. It's going to be what he says to me right here when I ask him the most important question. When I used to interview people for clinical positions or clinical director, Frankie, I would always throw a curveball toward the end of the interview. And I'd say something like, I had a whole series of questions, but I would say something like, if you can be any animal, what would it be and why? And they would go, what? Like they have all this stuff planned about clinical acumen and modalities. And they go, a monkey, because they throw shit all over the place, And I was like, oh, okay. Well,
But
thanks for coming.
You know what's fascinating about that green bean is the reaction to the curveball is almost more important than the answer they give you. Because what kind
That's
of a
right.
person are we dealing with here? There's going to be unexpected things that happen, and we got to get him off of his, practiced, the things that the agents are going to tell him exactly how to respond to this question, that question. It's all rehearsed and practiced. But you throw the curveball in there, maybe you get a little bit of an insight into the real guy that you're getting.
That's right.
The reaction's almost as valuable as whatever they say to the curveball.
Yep. You ask them the thing that they cannot prepare for. That's where you get the truth. You
Right.
can prepare for so many things. You say something like, what animal would you be? And they go, and then you see the real person. So I want to, before we get to this super chat, and I thank you, B-Trav, I want to say hello to our special guest and get him on in here with us. I don't want to delay any longer. And I want to remind everybody in the chat, get us your questions. If you have a question for our guest, please fire away in the chat. We will do our best to get to as many as we can. But let's bring them on. Are you ready in there? All right. Let's say hello to the one and only Jake Asman. How you doing, my friend?
What is going on, GreenBean? Appreciate you having me, my guy. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm in a great mood, man. I've been looking forward to it. I'm excited to have you on. I don't know if you know my co-host, Frankie from Flatbush, but if you do, hello. And if you don't, that's Frankie. Frankie, that's Jake.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Frankie, a pleasure.
There it
man.
is.
Love the name, Frankie and Flatbush. It doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't.
The funniest part about it is Frankie from Flatbush is in Pittsburgh. Isn't that interesting, Jake?
Really? Well, you know what? I grew up on Long Island, and I live in Houston now. So, we're Jet fans are all over the place.
Yeah. Worldwide, baby.
That's it, man. That's it. So, Jake, before we dig in, I have a lot of questions for you. I'm really curious to get your take on some things that, look, we talk about things, but you have a little bit more of a foot into some worlds that maybe somebody like myself doesn't. So I'm really excited to ask you some things, but I want to just acknowledge the super chat from B Trav before I do. And thanks again, B Trav. He says, love you guys. Really enjoy both of you. Common sense discussion. Cancel ESPN. Oh, that's interesting, Jake. Go local. Support Franken Beans. There it is. There it is. Well, I think timing is key. You know what I'm saying, Jake Asman? Timing is key. I love that popped up.
Though. We need to keep ESPN around until I'm back in New York and maybe don't work for an ESPN radio station anymore.
Yeah, there it is. Now, look, the universe has a sense of humor. And I couldn't be more tickled that comment organically. I didn't even read it before you came on. If I did, I might have taken it off or something. But hey, B-Trav, we appreciate you, man. And we know what you mean. And I couldn't be more grateful for your presence. So, Jake, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump right in with you. And there's some stuff going on right now, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I want to get your take on it. The rumor mill, as you know, is it's in full swing. Now, the Jets have been in off-season mode, and Jets fans for a little longer than most, but the off-season is official now, and it's not disappointing with rumors. We're hearing all sorts of stuff, but the one I want to get your input on is a two-part question, really. The Daniel Jeremiah stuff about the Jets and Giants, and we can just keep it to the Jets for our purposes, but the Jets could be involved in a three-way blockbuster trade. Now, number one, do you think there's validity to that? And then if you do, I'd love to really hear what you think about, what the motivation is for that. But if you do, where do you think that could, what direction do you think that could head a scenario like that?
Yeah, GreenBean, this is a great question just because it seems like it was unusual that the source of this was Jeremiah, who's the draft guy, talking about, potential trades. Personally, I've not heard anything in that regard. I don't dispute that it's possible. It's interesting. We have never maybe had an offseason like the one we're about to have, though, with the veteran quarterbacks that could potentially be on the move. So it would make sense from that standpoint that if you're going to have a Deshaun Watson get traded, or maybe Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, there's rumblings about Jimmy Garoppolo and even Derek Carr, Carson Wentz. If you run through all these quarterbacks, it is possible that crazy things could happen with teams getting involved NBA style, 3-team trades and, then you have draft picks kind of flying all over the place. So I don't think it's impossible that happens. From what I have heard so far, that has not been anything that's been on my radar. And I'm pretty plugged into, what's going on with the Texans, because they're obviously very prevalent this offseason with the third pick in the draft, as every Jet fan is aware, one spot ahead of the Jets. And they obviously have Deshaun Watson, who they will be trading at some point here.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I mean, not to get too much into his personal stuff or the specifics with his legal avenues, but what do you think? Like, he was mentioned in that, like, we're talking about guys like maybe Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and even Deshaun Watson. It just kind of fell off the map. He's still here, he's still around, but nothing's going on. Do you think it's possible that they could move him this year? Do you think teams would be a little bit nervous before everything settles down, or where do you see that going?
So my understanding is he will be traded. The timeline for that could be as early as March 16th when the new league year starts. It could take till the NFL draft. A very important date in the Deshaun Watson stuff is 1 week from today. His deposition starts with the prosecutor attorney that is representing the 22 women who are suing him of for sexual misconduct and sexual allegations, however you want to phrase it. So a week today we'll start to kind of hear more if he's going to try and settle, if he's actually going to try and have the long play here. Maybe this goes to court and this takes even longer. Everything I've heard, GreenBean, is that eventually Deshaun is going to settle these lawsuits. When he does, it remains unclear. But when that happens, I think the market of teams will drastically increase. And the Miami Dolphins, I was told, were prepared to trade for the guy and offer the Texans 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. And this was before he even settled any of the lawsuits last November. So I do think he gets traded. I just don't know if it's in March or April, but I'd be shocked, flabbergasted if he's on the Texans after the draft.
It's incredible, right? Like you said, 3 first-round picks and 2 seconds, and he might not even play. It just shows the power of his talent and who he is. It's just amazing going into that, the fall that he's had, because, man, he was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, non-Jet quarterback in the NFL. He's who I wanted in the draft that year. And anyway, I'd rather see this all get put behind us and get that guy back on the field before he turns gray or anything, but that'll be interesting. So I want to just tell the chat, and then we'll get to a question that Frankie has. I want to remind the chat, throw your questions into the chat for Jake or for us or whatever you want. We're going to try to get to as many as you can. I already see Jeremy and Wat2K are in the private chat stacking up our questions, and we'll do our best to get to as many as you can. But please, if you got something to ask, fire away. We'll do our best. And that'll lead me to Frankie. What do you got for Jake, Frankie?
Well, Jake, since you're in Houston, I'd be curious your thoughts about what happened with Coach Dave. So they brought in David Culley, Coach Dave down there, and I don't know what anybody expected him to do with that roster. I thought he did a pretty good job considering the roster had pretty much no talent. Davis Mills was a quarterback nobody had on their radar pretty much for anything, and it's just a giant question mark. He comes in, he plays pretty well, and then they get rid of Coach Dave, and they have kind of a romance with Josh
McCown.
Josh McCown, and they look like they were going to hire him. Mm-hmm. Then at the 11th hour, they said, no, that's off, and now let's go elevate Lovie Smith, and everybody likes Lovie Smith, of course, Coach Smith, but you already had him on the staff. So how much of an upgrade is that going to be from Coach Dave? So can you kind of explain what the hell happened to the Texans with this coaching situation?
Oh, man, how much time do we got? Because, I talk on the radio here 4 hours a day, and that's certainly not enough to talk about the inner workings of the Texans. Basically, in a nutshell, and I think as a Jet fan, I'm very qualified to talk about bad coaching. David Culley might have won 4 football games. He was not a very good coach. His clock management made Todd Bowles look like he was Vince Lombardi managing the clock. He did not hire anyone on his own staff. David Culley was brought in, my understanding, to basically be a placeholder for probably 2 years. What the Texans realized was they made a mistake hiring him because they wanted to bring in the opposite of Bill O'Brien, a likable guy, will not upset the apple cart, so to speak. They knew they were not going to be any good this year with all the issues they had with Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt leaving. I mean, the litany of talent that was off this team, in addition to not having a first or a second round pick, is what led them, I believe, to hire Culley. So then they go out there and they win 4 games. You're thinking, oh, wow, like they play hard. They overachieved. 2 of those wins were against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I don't need to remind any Jet fan watching this how awful they were. And one of their other wins was against the Titans, where Ryan Tannehill threw 5 interceptions in the game that was in the rain. Like the Texans, they had one impressive win all year. It was that win over the Chargers. It's like how the Jets had that win over the Titans or the Mike White game against the Bengals. The Texans coaching staff was not put together by the guy who was the head coach. It was put together by Nick Caserio. So Caserio basically admitted his mistake and then tried to go and hire his own guy after he realized Culley wasn't it. Problem is, his own guy was Josh McCown. All of a sudden, you fired a black coach after just 1 year, and then you were going to replace him with a white guy. And I like Josh McCown. I thought he did a great job with the Jets as the backup to Sam. And when he started in 2017, this is not personal, but how would it look if they hired the white guy with 0 coaching experience? McCown has never coached in the NFL. He's never coached in college. His experience in coaching was volunteering at his son's high school, as the wide receiver coach. So
that's a bit of a problem.
So what happened was they were going to get the backlash of hiring McCown on top of the Flores lawsuit. So they then shifted out of the blue to Lovie Smith, who was their associate head coach / defensive coordinator. I don't know how long Lovey's going to get. I think he's there probably 2-3 years at the most, but they're a mess right now. And that's basically how they ended up with David Culley. And then they went to Lovie Smith in a nutshell. They were going to hire McCown, though. That was a fact. If the Flores lawsuit did not happen, I have it on pretty good authority. There would have been a press conference later that week, and he would have been named the head coach.
Wow.
Incredible. I know, it's just the wackiest thing. Like you said, I mean, who doesn't like McCown?
I know,
Everybody,
I know.
yeah.
I hate
right?
I was so anti-McCown on the radio show, guys, and I feel bad because, like, as a Jet fan, I like Josh McCown. Like, we saw the value of McCown when he mentored Darnold his rookie year. Like, we saw McCown when he played in front of Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg. Actually, you know what? The Jets in 2017 was supposed to be 0-16. You know, they went 5-11. They started 3-2 that year, I think. Like, McCown played pretty well, and I hate having to like rip the guy. It's not personal, but you can't hire a guy with 0 coaching experience to be an NFL head coach.
No, it makes 0 sense. And then, like you said, with the waters getting even muddier with everything going on with Flores, it made it. I bet there were advisors in that room like, Nick, you cannot do this. You can't. You can't do it.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on down there. I hope that some of their disarray means that they mismanaged that 3rd overall pick, so somebody can slide to us. That's all I'm hoping, Jake. That's what I need. That's what I need out of it.
I get asked all the time by Texas fans, what do you think they're going to do? I'm like, well, do you want me to speak as a Jet fan when I hope you guys do? Or do you want me to speak as, right? Like, my hope is, and I know you might like Kyle Hamilton more than most. I don't want the Jets to have to face the decision of drafting him. I much rather them, take Hamilton at 3 and then Kayvon Thibodeau's there at 4 for the Jets to potentially take. But, what the Texans will do in the draft is a big mystery. I think just like the Jets, they want to trade back as well. So we're going to need some of these quarterbacks to really impress at the combine, so we can maybe start that hype machine where a team would want to come up that high. Because I really don't think the quarterback movement's going to start in the draft till around where the Jets are at number 10. Maybe Denver at number 9 could take a QB if they don't end up with a veteran. But, point is, Texans, I think, are kind of looking at the similar players the Jets are with that 3rd pick. They've been linked to Hamilton, Aquanu, and obviously Thibodeau. And whoever they don't take might be the logical pick for the Jets with the 4th pick.
Yeah, I know. I get everybody's concern with Hamilton, but I think that we'd forget all about it by game 3. So I'm okay with it.
I hope you're right. I want you to be right, GreenBean, because I don't know. I have Jamal Adams syndrome taking the safety that high. I fully admit it. Look, Hamilton, I hope if they take him, I will root like hell for him to be great. I'd love to be wrong. I just am very worried that they're going to take this guy and he's going to be okay. He's not going to be great. And then when it comes to having to pay the guy $19 million a year, the Jets are still going to be 7-9 or 7-10, and it's not going to make sense to invest that kind of money in a safety.
Right. And then we're not going to want to because he's average. I mean, think about it. It's not just Jamal Adams. It's Calvin Pryor before that, too. We don't have good luck with 1st-round safeties. The only thing I'll say to that is we have Joe Douglas and his crew now. So if they do take him, I feel better about it than Mike McCagnon or John Idzik or any of these guys who literally, let me just say, they didn't know much. I'll just leave it at that. I wasn't impressed. So we got a super chat from Jason Reeves. This is an interesting question. He says, I know everyone is worried about Becton and his weight/injury. Why isn't there more concern about Carl Lawson coming back from the Achilles? And that makes a lot of sense. I hear a lot of Jets fans are just kind of assuming, like, why take an edge? We have Carl Lawson. The guys that are really pushing for maybe a tackle at 4. They're saying things like that. So what do you think that all is? Like, number one, are you concerned about Becton? Do you think, hey, man, let's slow down and he's going to be fine? or are you concerned? And then what about the Carl Lawson injury? How do you see that coming into this season?
Yeah, it's a great question from Jason here. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic about Mekhi Becton. I do think we have to remember it's not like he was a bum as a rookie. The guy played really well, graded out really well, and I'm excited about his future, assuming he takes care of his body, comes into camp ready to go. I like the fact that the Jets have basically challenged him publicly to get in shape and be ready to go. You know, they're not doing it behind the scenes. It's like it's out there. We all recognize the situation. So I'm cautiously optimistic about Becton. And as far as Lawson, yeah, that's part of the reason why I want them to get an edge rusher at number 4. Like if Thibodeau or Hutchinson somehow there are 4, that's the pick I'm doing. Because yes, I think Carl Lawson could still be a very good player, but Saleh's defense is built on getting after the quarterback. And if you give him another edge opposite Lawson, you're not asking as much from Carl Lawson coming back from that injury. So I really think, there's reason to be concerned, but I think, he's also a good enough player and young enough where he still should be a very good player once he gets healthy.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if one of these best case scenario situations happened to us? Like, what if Becton came back and was an all-pro, and Carl Lawson came back and he was 100%, and Denzel Mims came back with the fire in his eyes, and nobody got hurt? And wouldn't that be nice? Why is it always the opposite for us? When's our cards going to turn over, Jake? What do you see?
I mean, GreenBean, I don't know how old you are, but I would guess you're a little older than me, right? That beard's a little grayer than mine.
Potentially.
But, we're Jet fans, man. When do things ever go right for us? Like what? It almost went right 09 and 2010. That's all I have in my lifetime. Like I kind of remember 98, but not really. I was too young. So yeah, it's been tough, man. I just hope things start to change. I think they got the right GM in place that has a plan. I like Saleh. I want to root for Saleh. It starts to change when they get the right people in charge. That's really where it all starts.
Yeah, I hope that soon. So, Frankie, I'm gonna take over for a minute and try to clean up and get to some of the super chats. We're stacked right now, and we're gonna get to other questions as well. I promise. But like Jake says on his show, super chats cut the line. It's like a fast pass at the theme park. So that's just the truth of it. So Dean Britton checks in with an interesting question, and we've been talking about this guy a little bit in recent weeks too. Are we re-signing Foley Fatukasi, and should we, in your eyes, Jake?
Well, a quick note on Dean GreenBean. Dean apparently was a high school roommate. My dad went to prep school, and Dean Britton was his roommate one of the years at this prep school. So yeah, very small world. And I believe Mike McCagnon's father, here's more randomness, was a history teacher at this prep school. I forget the name of it, somewhere in New Jersey. So a little Jet connection there.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, wild, right?
That's nuts.
As far as Fatukasi goes, I like the player, but if it means not being able to bring back Braxton Barrios because you want to sign him, I value Barrios more. Look, the Jets' run defense was horrific last year. I understand Foley's well-liked. He's a leader, team captain. It's not the end of the world if they didn't bring him back. I like him, but I'm not going to sit here crying if they didn't bring back Foley. I think Barrios, because of his relationship with Zach Wilson, the fact that he's a gamer, doesn't drop passes, gives you the value on special teams. If I'm picking between the two, and I know this wasn't the exact question, I would value Braxton over Foley.
Well, I like how you put that, actually. I don't know if I've necessarily correlated them in that exact way. Like, if you could have one, which one would you take? And obviously, we're not going to pay Braxton the $9 million that was rumored last week, probably. But if you had to pick one, I think I agree with you. I think that relationship with Zach Wilson would supersede the impact that Foley could have for the defensive line. And maybe we re-sign one of the lesser guys. Maybe Kyle Phillips gets re-signed, and you have Jonathan Marshall and Sheldon Rankins and everybody else. So that, I like how you put that. I'd like to see Foley back as well, but I don't know. You can't keep everybody, right, Jake? You can't keep them all.
Yeah, and they got to upgrade at other positions too. Like I like Foley, but I'm not going to be crushed if they don't bring him back. He's a nice player. He's a team captain. You can't keep everyone. You said it best.
Yeah, I like him too, but I think you nailed it. Jose Corniel says, Frankie, would you take, this one's for you, Frankie. He says, would you take Jermaine Johnson at 10 straight up? What are you thinking?
Well, the true answer is it depends, Jose, but the more exciting answer is no. Okay, let me give you a straight answer then. No, I would not, because that's a reach. I don't think anybody has Jermaine Johnson rated that highly now. Things could change. We still have the combine to come. We still have, all of the finalization of rankings, and maybe Jermaine Johnson shoots up the draft boards. And you see him at the combine, and he does amazing things that make you go, wow, this guy, he's fantastic. He's much better than anybody thought. And then maybe. But as of right now, no, because that's a bit of a reach at 10.
Yeah. What do you think, Jake? Have you gotten any opportunity to dig into Jermaine Johnson? Where do you hold him? Would you take him at 10?
I like him a lot. I don't know if he's the 10th best player in the draft would be my thing. Like, there's a lot of hype around him coming off the senior week. I'm curious how he's going to test at the scouting combine. Look, if the Jets took him at 10, I can't sit here and criticize that, because if Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh feel that dude's worth the 10th pick in the draft and they got the up close advantage of watching him all week in Mobile, I'd say, you know what, go for it. But everything I've heard is that he's not going to go that high. Like, it seems like that's a guy maybe you get in a trade back scenario if you move down from number 10. So I'd be a little weary, but if they love him and they think he's the third best edge rusher in the draft that you could get at 10, I can't sit here and say I want edge rushers and then criticize them for doing it.
Yeah, right. That's a funny thing. But it's like, look, it really is important that we get the right guy. And whether it's at 4, it's at 10, it's at 35, whoever it is, they need to have a damn impact from the word go. We don't need this 3-year right? We can't wait 3 more years to get a friggin' edge rush. Like, we need it. Like you said, Jake, like, Saleh's defense is predicated on getting to the quarterback. And if we can't do that for the guy, like if we just cannot figure out how to get to the quarterback, everything else is moot from there. We're scrambling. We're playing catch up from that point on. So I like Jermaine Johnson too. I don't know if I'd take him at 10. It'll be interesting to see how he performs at the combine and how everything goes. I was just digging into his tape earlier this week. I was able to watch a full game and some other breakdown type stuff on him. And I like him, but I didn't feel like I liked him more than Hutchinson. Karlaftis is kind of my flavor of the week, man. I'm starting to fall for that guy a little bit. So anyway, I don't think I'd take him at 10 either. Orphanage Builder DeGrom, excuse me, says all that's missing from this stream is Jet Central. Well, hey, that would be a Jake responsibility. I'd have to say, hey, Jake, we'll call up your buddy. Jet Central, I've only reached out to him once, Ian. I actually like Ian. I watched him early on. He was, if not first, he was among the first of the Purely Jets YouTube guys. And I watched him for a while, and I reached out to him one time, but nothing. So I just say,
wow.
Nothing. He ghosted me. He ghosted me.
No respect for the green bean. Come on, man.
You know what? We'll have to talk to Ian. We got to set something up, man. I mean, Ian's like the guy on YouTube. You know, I saw, just like you, I saw his videos come up first. So there you go.
Yeah, he's the guy, man. Everybody loves Jet Central. I don't think anybody's got a stone to throw his way. Hey, and Orphanage Builder DeGrom, if you want to help me out and work on that one, I'll be here. I'm right here. I'd love to have Ian on anytime. But I'll take that.
In touch. We're gonna make it
there
happen.
You go. There you go. See that? We're gonna have a love connection here. Daniel Faust, I want to thank you for the super chat. It did not come with a question, my friend. If you have one, throw it in the chat, Jeremy, or we'll try to get it to me, and we'll try to get you on. But thank you anyway. I do appreciate it. Next one is Jared Helmuth. And I want to just warn you, Jake, I'm not pre-reading these. I don't know what they say. So if there's something in there like maybe ESPN sucks or something like that, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey, so, I just work there, man. You know, you don't like ESPN. That's fine by me, man. As long as I sign my checks every 2 weeks, I'm good.
That's right. You know, there's a theme park that I went to in Bristol, Connecticut, right outside the ESPN headquarters called Lake Compounce. I was up there for a couple days riding coasters and everything. And I went and filmed right on ESPN headquarters property, like right in front of the place. I was like making fun of a specific Jets reporter and doing some stuff. And security pulled up and they kind of insinuated that I should leave. Isn't that nice, Jake? Isn't that good? They said, maybe you want to leave now, friend.
Wow. Yeah, they don't respect the greatness of GreenBean, clearly.
That's it. They didn't even recognize me. They're like, who the hell are you? Get out of here with your camera. Beat it. So that's my history with ESPN. Anyway, Jared Helmuth checks in with a super chat. Thank you, Jared. He says, what are your bold predictions for this offseason? Love the show. And as we say on Jake's show, hit it. Like and subscribe. That's a good time to remind everybody to like and subscribe. Obviously, it's appreciated. It's the simplest thing you can do. It takes less than 2 seconds to do both of them. and it changes everything for us. But I'll throw this one to Jake first, and then I'll get your take on it, Frankie. What would be your bold prediction for this offseason?
I think the Jets are aggressive. I think the Jets do a lot of what the fans have waited for them to do for a while now. I think they're going to use some of their draft picks to acquire proven veteran players. They're going to spend to the salary cap, and they're going to come away with a tight end that all of us seemingly want them to draft with the 35th pick and Trey McBride. That's the one guy I think is going to be a Jet. If I had to pick one prospect that I think is most likely to be a Jet, I go back to that guy. So those are some of my bold predictions. I don't know how bold that last one is because I think at this point everyone's expecting that one, but you never know. So those are some of mine off the top of my head. I think we see an aggressive Douglas offseason in which the Jets use some of their draft picks for proven commodities in the trade market.
Which would be new. We're used to actually acquiring draft assets for players, so that would be different. I'd be interested to see how that goes. Frankie, what do you got? What's your bold prediction for this offseason?
Well, it's interesting. If I had to make a bold prediction, I think I'll say we're going to make a trade also. We're going to get an excellent wide receiver. And that's not going to be good news for our friend Mimsy. Sorry, Denzel. But we're going to improve our wide receiver room. We're also going to acquire probably in free agency a tight end and maybe even a right guard as well. You know, there was an interesting article by Dr. Blocker, our friend Dr. Larry, saying all kinds of good things about himself and the Jets and how he fits in to the scheme and he loves it, and just effusive praise, and made it seem like he really wants to come back more than I would have thought. And so maybe he's our right guard, and maybe he's not as expensive as Laken Tomlinson or James Daniels or one of the other free agents. And maybe we can acquire an excellent wide receiver to be the Z to Corey Davis's X, and then we have Eli Moore as the Y, and then we are off and running.
Nice. I like it. I like ball. I'm really not one to use assets on trades. Like, I love myself some drafting. I just love it. But I wouldn't be opposed this year. I'm bracing for some exciting stuff. I think you guys are on to something here. Now there's an interesting question that's being funneled to me from the back from Wat2K and Jeremy back there. It's not a super chat, but I thought we'd throw it up there from a regular listener. Emanon wants to know, how did you become a Jets fan, Jake? What's your story here? How did it happen?
That'd be Steve Asman. That is my dad. My dad and my grandpa were season ticket holders at Shea Stadium. My dad's idol as a kid was Joe Namath. So that's how it happened. I would always say, Dad, you should have been a Giants fan. I would have seen 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. It would have been wonderful. But, you're born into your fandom, right? So I became a Jets fan, been a Jet fan my whole life. I grew up on Long Island, and I would go to Hofstra every summer for training camp and watch the Jets there before they moved to Florham Park. So I think the oldest Jets jersey I owned was a Vinny Testaverde jersey that I remember wearing in elementary school. So I've been a Jet fan my entire life, and it's in my family as to why.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to be a Jets fan when you grow up on Long Island, man, right? And I used to drive, like for you guys now coming to the stadium or going to, to Florham Park. That was my experience all back in the day going to watch the Jets at Hofstra. It took all day to get over the bridges and everything and set up and get over there. But I loved it. The last practice I saw at Hofstra, I think it was still at Hofstra. I'm pretty sure it was. It was Bill Parcells I remember hanging out for a few minutes with Marvin Jones, Brian Cox, and Mo Lewis. I got about 3 or 4 minutes with that crew. Come on. You know what I mean?
That's
It was amazing. Yeah.
Glory days, man. Back when the DC was a guy named Bill Belichick during those years.
That's right. Oh, man, our coaching staff, when you look back at that coaching staff, it's downright ridiculous. Belichick, we had Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel, Maurice Carthon. We had Ron Earhart as a quarterback coach. I mean, it was just unbelievable, man. Those were the days. Too bad we couldn't have squeaked out one ring. One.
I mean, you could argue, GreenBean, the biggest what if in Jets history is what if Vinny doesn't tear his Achilles in '99? Like that team was Super Bowl bound. That you can't convince me otherwise how good that team was. And they still went 8-8 despite losing their franchise quarterback week 1 of the season.
Yeah, and they got on a tear at the end of the season there when they got to their third quarterback, Ray Lucas. They held on to Rick Meyer a little bit too long. But yeah, man, we still mustered 8-8. If we would have won one more game, we would have gotten the playoffs. And once we were in the playoffs, who knows? But that was the team. We were predicted by everybody. We were the best team in the NFL, and we got to enjoy that for about a quarter and a half, and it was over. You know, the saddest thing in the world.
Pain.
So now we'll go to Steve Asman's roommate. He just wants to mention he loves you, but in this particular company, your beard needs some work there, Jake. So what do you think of that? You're going to grow a big, long ZZ Top type beard after this comment? What do you got?
Look, GreenBean, there's no shame in not having as good of a beard as you, my friend. And even Frankie in Flatbush has got a great beard. You know, my beard's not much, but it makes me not look 12 when I have facial hair. So I'll keep it for as long as I can.
Yeah, I think you look fantastic. But, you know, it's funny, you know, years ago, I would shave my beard like once a year. And everybody would say, when I shave my beard, you lose 15 years. It's amazing how young you look. Now I lose about 45 minutes. That's what I get. It doesn't work like it used to, man. So that's why I just keep it now. I'm like, I'm not going to play that game anymore. So Jack S chimes in, Jake, and he says Linderbaum or Green or Cross at 10. Now he's talking about the 3 offensive linemen, as I'm sure you understand. Which one, if you had to take one at 10, who's your choice out of that group?
Charles Cross plays tackle, so I don't know. I guess I would kind of lean towards him. I would have to know what they did at 4 and what does the offensive line look like at that point. The uncertainty with Becton I'd probably lean, hey, you get the tackle and then can Charles Cross maybe play guard for a year? But I won't lie. If Linderbaum's there at 10 and the Jets took him, I know it's not necessarily a need, but you can't tell me the value of a center over the next decade plus wouldn't benefit this team, especially a young quarterback in Zach Wilson. Like we all watched Kevin Mawai. We all watched obviously what Nick Mangold did for Mark Sanchez at the beginning of his career. So this would be really, really tough. I guess I would still probably lean Cross because I'm higher on Charles Cross than I think most are. But Linderbaum being there at 10, man, it's intriguing. I don't think they go down that route, though. And then Kenyon Green, I like a lot. I got to interview him a couple months ago, actually. Yeah,
nice.
He went to Texas A&M, and he was honored with the, at the Rotary Lombardi Awards, the award that Aiden Hutchinson actually won. But I got to interview him. Great dude. He could play all over the line. I think he's a day one starter at right or left guard, depending on where he gets drafted. So I honestly would be okay with any of those guys. I think the value-wise, Cross would probably make the most sense at 10.
You know, it's a funny thing. And then, Frankie, I'd love to get your take on this one quickly. But I think that Charles Cross might be my number 1 tackle in this class. Originally I just kind of bought in Evan Neal. I looked at a few things, some highlights. Yeah, he looks great. But as I dig in, and I really like Aquanu as well, but I think the purest of the 3 might be Charles Cross. I'm not there yet, but I like him significantly more than I did just a few weeks ago before I really dug in. So I'm happy to hear that you like him more than maybe most. I think I'm in the same camp as you. I'd have no problem with the Jets pulling the trigger on Charles Cross if they were going to take a tackle. But Frankie, what do you think? Linderbaum, Green, or Cross at 10 if you had to grab one?
Well, I've seen more tape on actually Icky, so I kind of like Icky the best, and then Neal, and then Linderbaum in that group. I like that those 3 at the top right now, but admittedly, I haven't seen it as much on Green or Cross. So I'd probably take Linderbaum here because then I would say, okay, Linderbaum's my long-term center, got that solidified. I moved McGovern to right guard at least for 1 year, and then I got a very good line for next year, and we got to see. If we're going to extend anybody, maybe we extend McGovern, maybe we extend Fant. We don't know. Those are things we have to decide. But just right now, based on the ratings, Linderbaum is the highest rated of those 3. So if the question really is about which one is the best of those 3, it's Linderbaum for me. I could be convinced about Cross. They're all very good. But I think Linderbaum is someone who's very highly rated in terms of the overall, offensive lineman in the draft. I think he's the top tier, at least as far as right now.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Kenyon Green for me. That's my favorite out of the bunch. And I like the other 2 a whole bunch. Kenyon Green, versatility, super, super strong lower body, incredible motivation. He's perfect for me. I think him and AVT together, I would be psyched. Oh man, I love.
Balls, I think they could move back into round 1. They could. I think I saw someone in the comments make the point. Douglas could. He could do the AVT thing all over again, where he trades up using one of those 2nd round picks if Green somehow slides towards the latter half of the 1st round to get him.
I'd have no problem with that as long as we don't lose Trey McBride if he's sitting there in the early portion of the 2nd. I would imagine getting let's just say a KT, a Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't know, a wide receiver at 10, and then you trade back into the into the end of the first, grab Kenyon Green, and then grab Trey McBride. Could you imagine those top 4 picks? I think that would change things.
Yeah, so I should have said this when the question came up from, I think, Jared earlier in the show about a bold prediction. This was something I floated out on my show the other day. I see the scenario where the Jets trade down from 10, get a couple extra picks. Maybe let's say they make a trade, they move down a couple spots, 10 to 13, 14, 15, kind of in that range. All right. They trade back into the first round, but they're also getting extra picks from the trade down. So it kind of evens itself out, and they end up with an extra valuable player, though. Like, I could see the trade down at 10, the trade back up into the first round, and they're still sitting there maybe with 2 picks in the second round to get really good players as well.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Go ahead, Frankie.
So something about Linderbaum, like if you got a guy like Linderbaum, sometimes it's about what you can do with them. So if we remember some of those running plays that the Bills were running with, I think his name is Mitch Morse, the center, and it's called a pop set, where he pops out like a pulling guard, but he's the center, and he's running down the field with the running back and basically blowing people up. That's the kind of thing you can do with a Linderbaum because his athleticism is so incredible. You can pull the center to come, and so a lot of times it's what do these skill sets that the players have allow you to do? That would be something that would be great to do if you had a Linderbaum, where you can't really do that with a McGovern as much. He just doesn't have the athleticism of a Linderbaum.
Gotcha. So we're going to get to some more super chats. I do want to remind everybody we are here with Jake Asman, the secret Jets fan covering the Houston sports scene. He's ours. Make no mistake. He's ours, everybody. And we'll give you an opportunity right now, Jake. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you before we move on and what you got going on?
Yeah, just YouTube as well. I post a Jet video each and every day. You'll see some stuff from the Houston radio show I do, but I'm a diehard New York sports fan. I'm down here for work, but I cover the Houston teams. I'm not personally a Houston sports fan per se, but huge Jet fan. Do a video each and every day. I had a friend of the show, Matt O'Leary, on the channel this morning talking all things Jets, so definitely check out that. And now I got to get Frankie on the show, GreenBean. You got to come on my show again. So we're gonna do all the YouTube Jet content creator collaborations throughout the offseason. So you'll find my channel, just type in Jake Asman, and boom, you can hit the subscribe button and watch away.
There you go. And Jake, some of the best content out there. And like you said, it's daily, which is so great. And, I always like your take because you have a little, and look, legitimately, you have a bit more of an inside scoop. And that's something that can be very valuable, especially right now, everybody, as we go into the off season and we try to navigate these smoky, rocky waters. Jake helps a lot with that. He lets you know what's really going on, where the solid ground is. And again, having Matt O'Leary on, I'm going to actually check that out myself. And who doesn't love Matt O'Leary? Matt and Jake together, it's about as good as you can get. And we're grateful to have you here, Jake. And we're going to move on to some more super chats. This is a suggestion. He says, this is Jets New York 102. He says, GreenBean for GM, Jake for director of scouting, Frankie in finance. We would definitely had at least 2 Super Bowl champions. Well, look, let me tell you, I don't disagree, but I will say, Jake, in fairness, I would happily take director of scouting for your GM if that was possible as well. I'd have no problem taking that director role if you were willing to be the GM as well. And I think we would do pretty good. Would you take this scenario, Jake? You think we would have won a Super Bowl or 2?
Here's what I would do. I would like to be the get back coach for Robert Saleh, so I could hang out, watch the games from the sideline. And, maybe if I want to have a suite at MetLife, but, I would have access to a suite as well. But I just want to watch the team and be a fan. There's too much pressure to be the GM of the team. If you want input from me, GreenBean, I'd be happy to give it to you. But you're way more qualified to be the general manager of this team than I would be.
Well, there you go. And undebatable is Frankie in finance. I would have complete trust. Do not put me anywhere near the finance department. We would owe money. And I know this for a fact because let me just say I have a little experience with that on the outside. So you don't want me near the finance room. Frankie, you do a good job in there. So yeah, I like that scenario. And I think I'm with you though, Jake. The pressure's not for me. I'd rather just yell at people for what they're doing wrong rather than be in charge of making those decisions. So V-Man checks in with a super chat. Thank you, V-Man. It's good to see you, my friend. He says, when the Jets win the Super Bowl, what celebrity fan would you want to narrate the America's Game documentary Also, did you hear it is open to a team-friendly deal? What is it? Oh, LDT. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, let's say this. Number one, Jake, you want to what celeb? Morgan Freeman, maybe? What are you thinking for a narrator? What do you got on that one?
So are we going just any celebrity? I'll give you Morgan Freeman is perfect for like just the overall celebrity. If you want like a fan, I see it in the comments here. Like, let's get Joe Beningo to do it. Let's get Fireman Ed to maybe do it. I'd be good if I don't know. Can we bring back James Gandolfini, God rest his soul, from the and have him narrated as Tony Soprano? I don't know. Let's get creative here if we go with the celebrity Jet fan. But yeah, I'd be good with Adam Sandler as well. He's a big Jets fan, as we know. So Jet fans are well represented. Also, we got to throw Liev Schreiber's name into the conversation. I mean, Hard Knocks 2010 Jets for life. Liev a big part of it. Ray Donovan. So we'll put Liev Schreiber into the conversation as well.
Yeah, there you go. And you're right, Jets fans, as far as the celebrity, it's not just that we have celebrities. We have good celebrities, man. Adam Sandler, Kevin James. We got Ray Romano. We got lots of fun guys that would be fantastic for narrating. I would take any one of them. I'd be in. But let's get to the second part of that question, which has to do with a pretty interesting subject. What do you think? I mean, Frankie he couldn't contain himself a second ago. He cheered with the idea that LDT would sign a team-friendly deal. Jake, you hearing anything about maybe LDT choosing football over maybe going back with that medical license? There was something going on about that. What are you hearing, Jake? What do you think?
I did hear that he's playing football this year, that I don't think he's going to be missing football to, go back to being a doctor up in Canada where he's originally from and obviously has a medical degree. As far as him coming back, he did an interview recently with my buddy Colt Thompson, who covers the NFL and the NFL draft for Sports Illustrated. He does a radio show on Sports Map Radio, and he had LDT on, and he was talking to him. And the vibe I got from hearing that interview, I actually did a whole video on this last week, just playing some of his comments on my show. The vibe I got is that he's coming back. Like, it's like a foregone conclusion the Jets and him are going to work something out. Now, the thing is he starting at right tackle or right guard? That I don't know. He might be a depth guy and then might get the opportunity to compete with someone. But I'd bring him back. He played well. Like, I don't know if the numbers back it up. I think they do back it up slightly. But the eye test, real Jet fans that watch this team saw a significant improvement in the running game and the pass protection when LDT played and relieved, obviously, Greg Van Roten. So I'd bring him back, and it sounds like he wants to come back. I think they get something done maybe before the start of the new league year.
Boy,
interesting. So Frankie, that'd make you happy, huh?
Well, it's so exciting because what can it allow you to do? Because the thing I like about this is the team friendly part. So if we bring him back for 4 or 5, then guess what we do? We let GVR go. See you later, GVR. We don't need you here anymore. And I save his salary, and I save his 3.5 million, and part of it goes to LDT, and now I free up a little bit of space there, and I've vastly improved GVR LDT over GVR, and he could start, or we could go another. It doesn't hamstring us. If we're going to give him 10 million, 11 million, then I'm not in favor of it. But if I can give him 4 or 5, okay, let's go. Because now if I want to sign Laken Tomlinson, I still can. If I want to draft somebody, I still can. So it doesn't hamstring us if he comes back to a nice team-friendly deal. Love it. Perfect.
Yeah, and then like you said, it doesn't like Jake said, we don't have to say, okay, you're the starter. Just have a competition with somebody we bring in. Maybe it takes a little pressure off, and we can use a third on a guard, and then they can compete, and we have a good situation. I would love it if LDT came back as well. Now, Jake, I don't know if you know, we usually wrap up our show with a little bit of trivia, and I'm going to I'm gonna be hoping that you can answer the question. We have been stumped by our trivia guy Watu more times than not, if you can believe that. I thought it was going to be an afterthought. Like, of course we're going to know these questions, but he's good. He brings on some tough questions. So I want to let you know, prepare for that. While we get into these last super chats here, just brace yourself for some good old fashioned Jets trivia. And I'm going to be looking at you, man. I'm going to be seeing if you can answer these questions, buddy. So Wild Billy Boy checks in. He says, last Michael Thomas post for a while, but swap 10 and 18 with the Saints. CJ didn't play for 2 years and was our best player, allows flexibility and a true number 1 wide receiver. I see what you're saying. But the difference is Michael Thomas was injured. CJ Mosley opted out. I mean, he was injured the first year, of course, but the second year wasn't because of injury. But Jake, what do you think about that? Maybe a little flip-flop-a-rooney, getting Michael Thomas for that privilege for the Saints to move up 8 spots. Do you have any faith in Michael Thomas? You think he's done? Would you do it? What do you think?
My questions with him are twofold. One, health-wise, all right, what type of player is this guy going to be when he's been injury-prone and has missed significant time, obviously, over the last 2 years? And the second thing, there's a lot of rumblings that things were getting ugly between him and his teammates, him and the coaching staff in New Orleans. And given where the Jets are, if they're going to invest significant draft capital in a guy that they deem is going to be their new number 1 wide receiver, I'm a little worried about giving up a lot for a guy that maybe is not the best teammate and putting that guy in your young locker room with your young quarterback, going into year 2. There's going to be some that say, well, look what happened with the Rams and Beckham. It's a little different when you're a Super Bowl contender. Sean McVay's your coach. And obviously Matt Stafford's played in the league for 13 years. It's a little different than Zach Wilson going into his second year as a pro. So I'm a little weary on Michael Thomas. I think there's other avenues I'd explore in the trade route to try and find that number 1 wide receiver rather than go down the Thomas path.
Character, everybody.
Well, let me throw some cold water on this. His cap hit is $25 million. So hello, no, thank you.
The finance man, man strikes again. The buzzkill strikes again. Frankie from Flatbush, it's literally the killer of dreams.
Almost all of our cap space for one guy who's coming off a major injury. No, thank you. Sorry. Love him as a player.
Yeah, I know. He was one of my favorite wide receivers a couple of years ago. It was between him and D-Hop for me. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of red flags there, man. A lot of red flags, Billy Boy. We'll see. D. Smith checks in. He says, GreenBean, your beard, for lack of a better word, is professorial in nature. Thanks for the comment. Well, thank you, D. Smith. I'll tell you what, you think I look like a professor. Well, I think it's the glasses. I don't usually wear these glasses. I couldn't find my glasses, and I can't friggin' see anymore, man. I don't know what's happened. I think I'm really getting old. I resisted.
Did you get a new camera as well? I feel like this is the clearest I've ever seen you, and you got like the HD camera right now.
Yeah, Jake, all it is internet, man. I'm telling you, I use the same camera. I know I feel crisp. You know what I noticed? Like, you see, I'm like, I'm not wearing my hat either, which I usually wear my hat. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been noticing this glowing orb the whole time. I'm like, I got to wear my hat again. So maybe I am too clear. I got to get back to pixelated. I don't like this. There it is. My son just walked in. There it is.
There it is.
Literally nobody had the same thought about your head. Nobody.
I know, of course.
Nobody. Until you point it out. Now they're going to look at it all the time.
Like, oh, yeah. Look at GreenBean's huge glowing forehead. But look, it's like George Carlin said. You would care a lot less about what people thought of you if you knew how little they did. Yeah. And that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But thank you, D. Smith. I appreciate it. Let me get to the next one. We are cranking through these, man. This chat is rocking today, and I'm sorry for all the great comments that I can't get to. I'm trying, but we'll get to these. Green Chimp chats in. Thank you, Green Chimp. He says, Kayvon or Hutchinson, who do you guys like more? Jake, if you had your druthers and they're both on the board, who are you taking?
I'm taking Hutchinson. I think he's the best player in the draft. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the next J.J. Watt, but my co-host on radio calls him Wolverine Watt. He does have some J.J. Watt kind of characteristics about him. I got to meet him personally. Let me tell you, he is an impressive dude in person. Like, even just talking to him, like, off the air after the interview. I'm also biased because he told me he loves Chipotle, and I'm a Chipotle connoisseur. So for all those reasons and the fact he's an absolute baller of a football player, I'd go Hutch. That being said, if the Jets ended up with Kayvon, that's a hell of a consolation prize, and I'd be more than happy with that at number 4.
Yeah, that's well said, man. And I tell you, Hutchinson is exciting because it's not just the talent. It's the person. It's the character. It's the drive. It's the tendencies.
He's a winner.
Of that
guy
type.
Is a winner. That guy just exudes confidence, and he fits exactly what they need to be the face of this defense. If I don't think he'll be there at 4, but God, if they got him at 4, that'd be one of the great days in recent Jets history.
That's why it's so fun to have terrible teams in front of you, which we have been. I don't want to take that away. I'm not pretending that that we're something other than we've been. But it's nice to have teams like the Jaguars, Blake Bortles, the Detroit Lions, consistent mistakes, and the Texans, who knows what they're doing. Who knows, man? We could see, Malik Willis, Jermaine Johnson, and Tyler Linderbaum go 1, 2, and 3, and then we're left there with our choice of right. Who knows? Who knows? Exciting times. Frankie, if you had to pick one, who you taking?
I'd probably take Hutch because Kayvon may have a higher ceiling, but I feel like Hutchinson has the higher floor. He's going to come in, you know what you got. Kayvon, it feels like there's a chance he could bust, but there's also a chance he could be Reggie White. So, if it's me, I want to know for sure. We're the Jets. We need something solid. Like, we can't take a chance with this. We really need the guy we need to know he's going to produce at least to some high level. Whereas Kayvon has a chance to be better, but I think Hutchins is more guaranteed to be good. I guess. So I would probably go Hutch just because I want something for sure. And I feel like Hutchinson's more for sure.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I love both of them, though. Even though Thibodeau I've cooled a little bit, but not to the point I wouldn't take him. You know what I'm saying? Rich M checks in. Thank you, Rich. He says, Jamison Williams seems to be a fan favorite despite the injuries. I like George Pickens, steal the draft. He's a stud, 50-50 balls. Route running, size, and speed. Jamison Williams is an interesting one. People are saying, things like you can't pass that talent no matter what the injury is. And what do you think about him? Would you pull the trigger on him, Jake? How do you feel about Jamison Williams?
If he's there at 35, I would have no issue. I don't think he makes it out of the first round, but if he does, zero problem with that. If they traded back into the first round to get him, I would like that scenario as well. So I'm open to it. He probably would have been the guy I would have been the most high on by the time we got to the draft. Had he not gotten hurt, it would have been like, take him at number 10. But things happen. I think it's a really good wide receiver class. I think they can end up with someone really talented in the first round, second round. If they wait to the third or fourth round, I think there'll be some players there as well. Pickens I like as well. I have a friend that used to be the quarterback at the University of Georgia, Hudson Mason. He does radio now in Atlanta, and he's been hyping up Pickens to me for a long time. So I like Pickens. If he's there for the Jets and they took him in the second round, third round maybe, I don't know where he's projected to go. I've seen mixed things. I'd be good with him as well.
Yeah. The Jamison Williams and Williams thing broke my heart. I hate seeing it.
Yeah.
Well, not even I did like him, but he, in my opinion, he was the number one wide receiver in the class. But just like for a kid's dreams, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like he was going to be most likely the top wide receiver taken in the class. And then that happens at the very end of the season. It reminds me, I don't know if you ever saw the movie, The Program. Remember that movie, The Program? You ever see that with James Caan, Jake? You ever see that one?
No, I don't think I've seen it.
Highly recommend it. One of the best football movies of all time. But anyway, it was a guy, he was coming through college and he bought his mother a door knocker and said for her birthday and said, when I go pro, I'm going to buy you the house. And then in his last game, a guy did a dirty hit, tore up his knee, and he was out of football forever. So we watched his dreams get dashed, and just reminded me of that. And I hate seeing that for these young, talented kids. Not to say kids, they're young men. They're young men. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm with you. I can't use a first round pick on Williams, but a second round pick, I might pull the trigger on Williams. A Wild Billy Boy checks back in, and he says, also, can you guys educate us on why the Jets have never had their own stadium? Didn't Woody try in the 2000s? Having our own stadium would be amazing. Jake, you got any inside info? What the hell's going on? Why don't we have our own stadium?
I mean, what, Dolan was involved in this, and MSG tried to block that west side of Manhattan stadium. I don't know. I've ranted about my disdain for MetLife, and it's not even like that MetLife is like a bad stadium. It's a bland stadium. It looks like a giant air conditioning unit. When you see what the Rams and Chargers playing, that palace that we all watched on Sunday, SoFi Stadium, and you look at what the Raiders' new stadium looks like, and what Jerry World in Dallas looks like, and the Vikings' new stadium, and I was at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in Atlanta. Like, you see all these beautiful state-of-the-art stadiums, and then you see MetLife, and it's a giant AC unit. There's nothing unique about it. And it's just like, how do two prominent NFL teams playing in the biggest media market in the world in New York City, how do they play in a stadium that is just boring? Like, there's just no, I'm sure the suites are very nice. Guess what? I don't sit in suites at football games. I watch the Jets in the stands, and like, there's nothing appealing about MetLife Stadium. How they didn't decide to put a retractable roof on the damn thing so they can have concerts there all year. Also makes no sense to me. I don't understand the thought process behind why MetLife is the way it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like you have the state gave half, then you have two teams splitting the half, two rich teams, two teams that are in the biggest market, and they still built a turd. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I got stadium envy. Looking around, I toured AT&T Stadium in Dallas when I was there. I got to throw my son a touchdown pass on the field, and walking around that stadium, all I could think of is MetLife sucks. The whole time I was there, MetLife sucks. But Billy Boy, I really don't know. I don't know what it is. I wish I knew. I wish I could give you a firm answer on why we've never had one. Maybe in the future, maybe we'll go back to Long Island. I don't know, but it's a shame. Dom C checks in. Now, Dom C, if you don't know, writes weekly articles for us at greenbeanjetsfan.com. He's also our positional breakdown guy on our weekly Patreon group meetings. If you want to get into our Patreon and support the channel, the link is in the top of the description right here. And you get to hang out with us on a weekly basis, classic game, watch streams, and positional breakdowns. Dom C just would like to remind us, Derek Stingley is cornerback number 1 in this class and would look great in green. You taking Derek Stingley? Jake, what do you think?
I mean, that's my issue with Stingley. Is he going to play? If he plays like he did as a freshman in 2019 on one of the greatest teams I've ever seen in my life at LSU, then yeah, I would agree. My issue with Stingley is the Jets have too many guys that already are injury prone. They're relying on too many guys to come back healthy from injuries. If you're taking Stingley, I'm just worried, man, he's going to get hurt. And honestly, I like Sauce Gardner. If we're going corner, Sauce is my guy. I liked what he did against Jameson Williams in the playoff game. He played 3 years. He never allowed a touchdown. That's insane. Stingley's awesome. But if you put on the tape for Stingley, the last 2 years, it's not the same guy that we saw 3 years ago in 2019. So that's my concern. I like Stingley. I just think it's a risk that the Jets can't afford to take given their situation as a team right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if we draft an injured guy, he's going to be injured. That's, Murphy's Law, man. Well, we injure healthy guys.
Especially for Stingley, he's had a foot injury. We play on rubber. Speaking of our stadium, we didn't even put grass on the damn field. We put rubber and silica, and we wonder why we have all these leg injuries. And then we're going to take a guy with foot problems for the last 2 years? Nope, not me.
Yeah, hey, makes sense, Dom. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. They make good arguments. Pooch Guy wants to know, what are our thoughts on Shaq Barrett? What do you think about Shaq Barrett? Is he a viable target for us, Jake?
Yeah, it's an interesting name. He's probably going to be expensive. I mean, let's be real. The guy's a premium player at a position that is very valuable. I like Shaq Barrett a lot. I wonder, are the Jets going to be a team that's going to shell out that kind of money, or do they kind of maybe try and sign a lower tier guy and then use the draft to address pass rush?
Yeah, that's my thoughts too. This is a very good player. He's going to be very expensive. Would I be upset if we got him? No, he's very, very good. But he's going to cost a lot of money, so you have to think about it. Okay, if we're going to spend the money on him, what else are we spending on? What do we not get to spend on? So,
all right, last super chat, and then we're going to bring Y2K on. We are up against the clock here. Boogie Down Bronx would like to know, what's up, guys? Do you think the Jets will trade with Jacksonville for the first pick? And what do you think we'd have to give up? Ooh, see this? You don't hear this too much. This is an interesting idea, Jake. What do you think? Do you think it's possible the Jets could move up? And if they did want to, what do you think it would take for us to get to number 1?
I think you definitely are giving up one of your second round picks to move up 3 spots. So I don't know if I would do that. As much as I love Hutchinson, there's a chance Thibodeau's there at 4. So I don't know if I'm rolling the dice and trading away one of these picks to move up to number 1. Plus, don't you feel like it'd be like typical Jet fan luck where the team they beat in Jacksonville, one of the last weeks of the year, they then give them picks to move up and get a guy that they could have had they just lost that. Like I don't know if I want to go down that path. I don't think that's a Joe Douglas move. I think he's going to stay put at 4. If anything, the Jets move back from 4, not up from 4.
Agreed.
Yeah, Frankie, what do you think? We jumping up to get to Jacksonville and rub our own salt in our own faces?
I don't think so. I think we'd be more in a move down mood than move up mood this year, I think.
All right. Well, there you go, Boogie Down. So we're going to bring on Y2K. You ready, buddy? The trivia master himself. Let's say hello to Y2K99, the stump master, and let's see what he's got. You got one for us tonight, Y2K?
I got a pretty good question for us tonight. Jake, first of all, pleasure to talk to you for the first time instead of just on the chats. How you doing?
Want2K, man. Great to put a face to the name. Appreciate your constant support, man. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, so
All right, fire away, buddy.
Questions I've had have been kind of draft related, so we're going to stick with that theme today. Now, as we all know, the Jets have multiple first-round picks in the upcoming draft. Now, the first common NFL draft, Frankie, relax. I know this part drives you nuts. Was in 1967, but we're not going to ask a question about the 60s.
52 years ago.
Exactly. GreenBean's prime. So
that's right.
Since the common draft, how many times have the Jets had multiple first-round picks in a draft?
Ooh.
And can you name the years? Rather than just throwing out a number, how many years can we name?
Multiple first-round picks.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Well, 2006. Well, actually, hold on. Are we counting like trading into the first round?
Yes, that counts. Just as long as they made 2 picks or more in the first round of a draft.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Well, 2000's obvious. We could start there with that 4 that year.
Right.
2000.
And we had they
got Brick and Mangold. So that was 2 first-round picks that year.
Yes.
Then we traded back in for Keller.
2008,
that year.
Yep, him and Vernon Golston, Jet legend, of course.
That's right, one of the best.
Which year?
One of the best.
No, wait a minute. Which year was that? I want to. Did you say Golston and Keller?
Yeah,
that was 2008. Vernon Golston, and then Dustin. Actually, what?
2008.
Check that.
That was Mangini's last year as the GM, even though he wasn't. Right. He was.
Yeah, Keller got there a year before Sanchez. I thought for a second they came in together, but now he was there in 08 with Favre.
Yeah, I'm just going to double check 2008. I want to make sure because now you have me double thinking.
It sounds like the trivia master.
Yep.
Also, 2012, D. Milner and Sheldon Richardson because they used
there. It is.
Pick, so that was another one. How many are we up to now?
Let's see. Yeah,
I gotta write these down.
How about 2020? How about 2021?
That's right. There's another one.
Modern day.
Very good. That would be an easy one to overlook. But yes, that's right.
So 2021 and then obviously 2022, right? That counts.
Yeah, but we're not going to count that. But yes, of course, 2022. Yeah,
okay.
Okay. So, and not including 2022, I think we're up to 5. Is it? I think we have 5.
Yeah, you got what?
2000, 2006, 2008. 2012 and 2021.
Right.
So what do you think, 5. Chat?
Yeah, let's see what the chat says.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're at 5 right now, but I'm trying to think. Did they ever have it? Well, in the 90s, there had to have been a draft where they had 2 first-round picks.
I'm trying to scour.
Low guesses. I'm seeing a lot of 3s and 4s, but it's more.
We're at 5 confirmed right now. Before we have said any year in the 90s or any year in the 70s, 80s. So I'm trying to think.
So what this confirms is that having years with multiple first-round picks does not mean getting to the Super Bowl and winning Super Bowls very frequently. That's what you're telling us, Wat2K.
It leads to
not necessarily
for a couple of months is what it leads to. Although some of these drafts, worked out quite well. 2000, 2006. I mean, can't complain about those 2, but
so is it more than 5? Wat2K? Do we have it?
I think it's more than 5. Yeah, no, I think did they have 2? Is 1997 one as well? Didn't they have 2 in 97?
No, I don't believe so. I'm going to go back and check just to make sure. I don't believe so, but I'll check for you.
All right. And this is without looking, everybody. Well, the Dwayne Robertson draft, Curly Norman, we gave up. We had 2 first, but we gave one up. We gave both up to move up to grab Dwayne Robertson. So that would not count as having 2 firsts, in my opinion.
1997 is a very good guess, but the Jets actually picked that year James Ferrier, number 8, and Rick Terry, 31st. It was the first pick of the second round.
Oh, there weren't 32 teams yet then. Okay, there you
go. Interesting.
Very close, but no cigar on that one.
Oh, yeah. I was only able to come up with 5 confirmed. I don't remember. There might have been a year in the 80s where they had was the year they got Gastineau. Did they have 2 first-round picks? Was that 81? They had maybe 2 first-round picks that year?
No, not 81.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't, and I can almost go through most of the 90s drafts. But I can't remember one that we had 2 firsts. I'm at 5.
I'm going back to see if anybody's mentioning the year. But yeah, people are basically throwing out like how many did they have. But yeah, do you want me to tell you how many more years there are, or do you want me to let you
Yeah,
go?
help us out.
Okay, there are 3 other years that this happened, so it's 8 total.
Wow.
There had to
All
be.
right.
There's definitely a year in the 90s they had more than one pick.
Maybe.
Had to be.
Hell,
Early 90s, though. I'm thinking like 91, 92 in that range.
I will tell you this. This is going to hurt when I tell you what it is. It's not going to.
Yeah,
be
I guess.
good memory.
Jake, I think it's official. I think we're stumped again. What do you think? What do you say? You think we're stumped?
Yeah, I thought we were getting close, but I got 5 confirmed, and that's all I got right now.
I don't know if Adam has the best trivia questions in the world or perhaps the worst trivia questions in the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which one it is.
I tell you, I'm disappointed every week. I feel bad about ourselves.
I will give credit. I just saw a couple of late additions. Jets Forever got one of the years, and Drum Strax got one of the years.
All right, lay it on us, Y2K.
Well. Okay, so the 3 that we missed, I'm going to go with, let's see. Let's start. I'm going to go old school. The first time was 1972.
Wow.
Jerome Barkham and the immortal Michael Taylor, who is a linebacker whose career lasted all of 22 games.
Wow.
The
So
Jets,
good.
baby. That's
Yeah,
our
that's
history.
us. That's us.
We did that.
We
After
did
that, yeah, now we're going to jump forward. 1984, Russell Carter and Ron Farrow.
Mm.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Ron
This last
Farrow.
one? Yeah, Russell Carter and Ron Farrow. No good. 1995, Kyle Brady and Hugh Douglas.
That's
And Hugh
95.
Douglas.
Hugh Douglas.
Yep.
There was eight classes.
Wow.
I completely forgot about Hugh Douglas. I went through the Kyle Brady thing, didn't even get there. That was good, Y2K. I got to give you credit. This can't be easy to find these questions that stump. We had 300 people in here taking swings at this one, and we didn't get it. You know, I mean,
And,
you start to see, you know,
also
Jake.
1965. I said since the common era began, because back then there were just so many. There were so few teams, so many rounds. It was just. And,
Yeah.
You know, people raise a little ruckus when we go back to the Titans era or towards the Titans.
Yeah.
So I didn't want
We got mad at him, Jake. We're like, what is this talking about Titans? That doesn't count. But it's funny, you know, Jake, after about 3 or 4 minutes, you start seeing all the right answers come in the chat. We know why that is. We know the Google. They can't resist.
Wikipedia,
They can't resist.
83, hit the right arrow. 84, right arrow. 85.
Yep,
Just
yep.
That's it. That's how it goes. They're like, I'm brilliant. I'm brilliant. It's me. I got it. Well, look, I'm just going to acknowledge one more super chat, and then we're going to wrap this show up if that's okay. Benji Unger checks in. I wanted to get to it, Benji. Thank you so much. He says, and this, I'll throw this at Jake. If Sauce Gardner is there at 10, do you take him, Jermaine Johnson, or a wide receiver? What are you doing in that scenario, Jake?
Without knowing what they did in free agency, I would probably say wide receiver in that spot. Now, I guess it also depends what they did at 4. Like if you're telling me Kayvon Thibodeau was the pick at 4, then I don't think you would then take Jermaine Johnson at 10. I think you'd use that other top 10 pick on corner or go wide receiver. I don't know, man. I am really in on let's get a wide receiver at 10. I think it would show a commitment to Zach Wilson. I trust Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to identify a guy. I'd be good with the receiver there. Honestly, I wouldn't hate Jermaine Johnson there if he truly is deserving of that spot. But if what they do at 4 could impact 10, but just to answer Benji's question, I'll say wide receiver.
There you go. Well, hey, guys, I want to thank you for an amazing show. This went so fast for me. It feels like it was a half-hour show for me, man. I could not keep up all the comments. I commend the chat. Best chats in the business are the Jets YouTube chats. Nobody compares. When I go on my other chats on shows I watch on ancient Egypt or whatever, they stink. They don't hold a candle to you guys. The engagement that we see here is unparalleled. And I want to thank our special guest, Jake Asman, for coming on. One more time, Jake, why don't you just let people know where they can find you? If you have a big something or other coming up soon, let them know what's going on so they can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just Jake Asman on YouTube. I post every day about the Jets. You'll get some other NFL content as well, draft stuff all throughout the offseason. Guest-wise, we'll have the great GreenBean on. We're going to get Frankie from Flatbush on. Hell, we might get, Walk 2K on to give us some Jets trivia on our channel. So we're going to have some great guests joining us as well. Working on a big one for next week. I don't want to tip my hand, but let's say he was a part of a certain draft class in which this player went in the first round with another player. So that's all I'm going to say, but we're working on a big guest for next week. Matt O'Leary was on the channel earlier today. So you could just search my name on YouTube, subscribe, and you'll get daily Jets content like you do from GreenBean and Frankie from Flatbush.
Awesome. And you guys already know Jake's one of the best out there, and we're happy to have him on our team. And I thank you for coming on, Jake. This was a good time. Wat2K, the president of the Virginia Jets fan club. Thank you. Frankie from Flatbush, why don't you let them know where they can find you if you got something big coming up before we wrap it up?
Yeah, Frankie from Flatbush channel on YouTube. Tomorrow morning drops the video where we're comparing the drafts of 2019, 20, and 21 between the Jets and their AFC East rivals. So who did better in each of those drafts? Well, let's find out tomorrow morning on the Frankie from Flatbush channel. Then on Sunday, we'll do another mock draft where everybody will get mad because I took Sauce Gardner at 10 and didn't focus on the wide receivers and everything else. But we'll drop another one of those on Sunday. So that's what's coming up on the channel.
Just take Trey McBride.
Fantastic.
Good. Just take Trey McBride.
Yeah. And I want to thank our behind the scenes guy was working overtime tonight, man. And he was letting me know, he was feeding me tons of questions and making sure I didn't skip super chats. Jeremy from the NFL Chaos with Jeremy channel. Please go over there, follow and subscribe to him. Every 100 subscribers, he hurts himself for your pleasure. It's a beautiful thing, and I thank Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy as well. And thanks to the chat again, guys. You guys are the best, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby. I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.